Sleepy town settled for the night, where every lawn is tailored just right. And it's about time that the back porch light comes on. At that house down the street, at that house on Magnolia Street.
Hi, buddy.
Good morning. Oh, let me get my notes up.
I love the robe. It's like a sitcom robe.
A what?
You would only see it on TV.
A sitcom robe?
It's beautiful.
It's cozy.
White robe,
It's
red
warm.
hearts.
It's so toasty. All right, let me plug this in.
The little roly ball on my mouse broke.
What?
So I'm back to the 90s.
Oh no.
Do you remember the mice with the ball on the bottom that you could take out?
You still have that? You still have
No,
a
but
mouse
you.
like that?
I really liked playing with that. I'm gonna pop this.
What are you drinking already?
Limoncello.
Is that the limoncello one?
Do you like these?
You know, I thought it was gonna be more like limoncello-y, but it just tasted like pledge to me.
Really?
Yeah. I think I liked the hibiscus one better.
Is your digestion back to normal?
No, I just had fiery poops.
You know what you should get? A bidet. Because it's awesome.
Oh, didn't you just get one? How is that so far?
It's life-changing.
Yeah.
You never,
'Cause I
anywhere
usually-
else, you're like, I wish I had
Yeah.
a bidet.
See, that's why I kind of don't want one because I'm gonna rely on it, and then when I don't have one, I'm gonna feel like
Mm-hmm.
something's off.
Mm-hmm.
I just use the wet wipes.
You know, when you take like a real fiery poop and you have to just sit there and you know more's coming, you can just
That was
get that
this morning.
fieriness out of there and just keep waiting.
That was this morning, and I was like, "What did I eat yesterday?" And then
What
I
did
was
you
like,
eat?
"Oh, I had jalapeno chips with lunch yesterday."
That'll do it.
So,
Hey, Witch, hey.
hey, witch, hey.
How you doing? I'm Christina.
Sunday. Happy Sunday. I'm Justina. Welcome to Magnolia Street.
We're your one and only musically inspired practical magic fandom podcast.
Every week, we deep dive on different aspects of the movie and the books, as well as treat your ears to our very own practical magic inspired original music. This episode, like the last, will include discussions of human sacrifice and, disturbing themes involving blood.
The blood.
So please keep that in mind if you are sensitive to these matters, and perhaps choose one of our other episodes for this week. So we have a new patron in the house.
Bow, 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 bow. Welcome, Ralph T. Thanks for being our little lavender bud.
We have a new lavender bud. Welcome, Ralph. Welcome to the party. We hope you enjoy your stay here on Magnolia Street, and we can't wait to get to know you. Hopefully, we can find Instagram or social media or something. Say
Yeah,
hi.
please reach out. We hope you got the welcome email and you're finding your way around our Patreon just fine. If you need anything, please let us know. But thank you so much for being a part of our Patreon team in our neighborhood.
Thank you. Yeah, we're excited to have you on board.
Yeah. So welcome to part 2 of our Blood Oaths and Magic set. Last week we talked about one of the prominent and memorable scenes in the film, which was our Owen sisters and their shared blood oath. As Gillian is preparing to elope and run off into the night, she and Sally stand on the balcony and exchange their emotional goodbye. And okay, I don't have my scrolly wheel. How am I going to do this?
Oh no.
Last week we dove into the history behind what makes a blood brother or a blood sister. We explored different cultures and religions around the world and the importance of intention.
Yeah, so let's just dive right into maybe a more contemporary look at blood magic. So blood magic conjures up all kinds of gothic images, doesn't it? The very word blood is a real attention grabber. Combine it with words like magic, ritual, spell, or rite, and the first thing that comes to mind is human sacrifices on a stone altar dripping with dark red and other images that look like something straight out of a horror movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Undoubtedly, blood holds an inherent power that resonates universally. This deep-seated understanding has roots that extend back to our earliest human ancestors. The vividness of that crimson fluid, whether flowing from a friend or foe, prey or oneself, commands immediate attention. The association of blood with potent concepts is so profound that some individuals may find the sight of it overwhelming, even to the point of fainting, manifesting as hemophobia, which is the fear of blood.
Aaron doesn't do blood very well.
Yeah, neither do I really. Like, my monthly, cycle, that's about as much as can do. Like,
Yeah.
I can't watch hospital shows. I
Hmm.
can't I can't do it. It just
Hmm.
grosses me out. Grosses me out. So as usual, the fiction is much darker and more stirring than the reality of it. Yes, blood can be dangerous, both magically and mundanely, but fire can also be dangerous, and yet no one would think to tell you not to use it to cook your meals.
Right.
Yeah, so you just have to learn how to use it safely and properly. Inextricably linked with both death and life, blood symbolizes the aftermath of slain warriors, victims of violence, and the hunted prey in their final bloody states. Simultaneously, it plays a crucial role in the cycle of fertility, perpetuating life. The loss of too much blood leads to weakness and death, while tainted blood results in withering. Blood is intertwined with pain, visible in mishaps, accidents, and conflicts. It is equally associated with passion, signifying an innate connection to activities one loves, excels in, something that is, quote, in your blood, right? How often have we heard people say, like, if you're good at something, it
Second
must be in
nature.
your blood,
Mm-hmm.
right? Must be in your blood. Family members, especially those you love, are referred to as blood, emphasizing the profound connection. Blood serves as a conduit, fostering empathy, even for strangers, as one's heart bleeds for them. It encapsulates passion, connection, and raw emotion, functioning as the life force coursing through the body. Blood delivers oxygen and nutrients to every part, signifying energy. It mirrors life's milestones from a woman's menstrual cycle to childbirth. Acts as a potential lifesaver, donating blood can extend a lifeline to others.
Be organ donors. Be blood donors.
Even that grosses me out. I will never donate blood. It
I
just
used to donate plasma because that shit got you
well,
money.
that pays, right? That
Yeah,
pays
that pays.
good. But like
Blood, not,
even
they don't
that, I'm
care.
like I'm like weirded out by it. I don't know.
Ah.
I'm weirded. I don't think I am supposed to be a human being.
What?
Like, you know how they like talk about like those starseed children or whatever, like you're on this planet having a human experience, but you don't feel comfortable in it.
That's so
Like that's
funny.
me.
Are
Like I
you an
don't feel
Aquarius?
comfortable in I don't feel comfortable in the human experience. It's
Okay.
weird.
All
Like
right.
anything that has to do with like human biology and like blood and like science, it just weirds me the fuck out.
Really?
It's
Oh,
so
I didn't know that.
strange to me. And also, I think well, I used to be underweight. I
Hmm.
used to not be uh I used to not weigh enough to donate.
Me too.
Like I think like legally like you have to be like over 100 and something
115 or something
pounds.
like that.
Yeah, well now I am.
Well,
But
yeah,
like
me too. But in high school, yeah, I
yeah,
couldn't cut
when I
either.
was younger, they always used to tell me like, yeah, you can't eat, you couldn't even if you wanted to. But yeah, I get very lightheaded
Mhm.
just looking at it
Mhm.
happen. I've gone with other people and watched them like do it,
Mhm.
like not like the needle in the arm, but like I would go with them.
And you'd see
And
them all like drowsy afterward.
yeah, and I would be like, that just makes me uncomfortable.
My
I don't
brother-in-law,
like
quick
it.
story, Josh, when he was a little kid, he couldn't make his own red blood cells. So like once a
Really?
month they would have to take him to the doctor and he'd get like transfusions, I guess. And then so he'd be like a zombie basically
Oh
until
my
he
God.
got the new blood and then he'd be like pew, 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 like a normal kid. And I guess
That's
after a
weird.
time they were going to do a I don't know if it was like a bone marrow or some kind of transplantation. And the only
Yeah.
match between Josh was my husband, Aaron. So if they would have gone through with this procedure, both of them would have had to live in basically like a bubble for a year.
Oh
And
my
I think it was,
God.
Aaron said about 3 months beforehand, Josh just started making his own blood and he's fine. But he had like not a stent, he had something put into his chest that helped him. But it's
Uh-huh.
wild that our bodies are like,
It's weird.
I'm gonna hold off on this natural process.
Yeah, and then it just
Then
started
boom.
by itself. What the hell? That
Yeah.
is strange.
Blood.
Okay. Blood.
Continue.
So, in the microscopic realm, blood contains the essence of one's identity, with the potential for illegal cloning using just a drop. Housing DNA, it serves as a comprehensive blueprint not only for the individual but also for the entire ancestral lineage. So, given its profound significance and inherent power, blood naturally holds a potent place in the realm of magic. Some might argue, perhaps even too powerful. let's just, I guess, clear this up. Blood magic is not blood sacrifice. So more on this in a moment, but let's chat a little bit now about how blood and witchcraft got wrapped up together in the first place. And for that, we have to look at the concept of familiars. So this next article was much longer. It was like about 11 pages. So please visit our links to read more. Also, this article had much more on familiars, which was related to blood. But we'll have a whole familiar series at some point, and we're going to save that juicy information for that. All right, so Christina's cousin Allie found this great PDF entitled Paltry Vermin, Cats, Mice, Toads, and Weasels, Witches, Familiars, and Human-Animal Interactions in the English Witch Trials. And this was written by Helen Parrish in 2019, and this is on mdpi.com.
So the abstract of this article says that it explores the role played by the relationship between witch and familiar in the early modern witch trials. It positions that animal familiars in the intersection of early modern beliefs in witchcraft and magic, examining demonologies, legal and trial records, and print pamphlets. Reading together, these sources present a compelling account of human-animal interactions during the period of the witch trials and shed light upon the complex beliefs that created the environment in which the image of the witch and her familiar took root. The animal familiar is positioned and discussed in the intersection of writing and history, anthropology, folklore, gender, engaging with the challenges articulated in this special issue to move away from mono-casual theories and explore connections between witchcraft, magic, and religion. So in England in the 1500s and in the 1600s, it was believed and held up in court that witches sealed their pacts with the devil by feeding their blood to demons or their animals. The demon or animal would then become their familiar. We've talked about familiars on and off a lot on this show. In her article, Paltry Vermin, Cats, Mice, Toads, and Weasels, Witches, Familiars, and Human-Animal Interactions in the English Witch Trials, Helen Parrish talks about the clergy and courts in the 16th and 17th century England and how they saw familiars as agents of the devil. The devil!
The devil.
By the 17th century, vivid depictions of the interactions between witches and their familiars had become commonplace in English witch trials and accompanied popular print literature. About 3/4 of the trial accounts referred to familiars, which were depicted in various forms, primarily as animals, but occasionally in human or hybrid form. Like Dracula has the familiar, the manservant. I don't remember his name. Do you remember that storyline?
No,
Okay.
I don't.
These familiars wield extensive power, serving as intermediaries between witches and supernatural realms, orchestrating malevolent actions and tempting individuals into pacts with the devil. Animal familiars such as mice, cats, dogs, and toads were particularly prevalent. Mice in particular were often associated with witchcraft due to their common presence in the practice of watching, which led to accusations that witches possessed mice as familiars. Insects like bees and flies were also identified as familiars, believed to cause afflictions and disturbances through demonic influence. The familiar, often depicted as a domesticated animal, existed at the margins of society, symbolizing the inversion of proper beliefs and relationships. Feeding blood to familiars, for example, was seen as a perversion of natural order and a pact with the devil, highlighting the moral and theological dangers associated with such practices. The image of witch nurturing familiars rather than children subverted traditional gender roles and moral norms, portraying them as almost bestial in nature, like, hello, our spinster episode.
Yeah.
Reports of witches feeding familiars with their blood invokes imagery of both nurturing motherhood and demonic corruption. This also makes me think of that scene in The Witch when like the bird is like picking at the mom's tit.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
freaked me out.
Yeah, that scene is so creepy.
What a bitch, though. Terrible
Yeah,
woman.
she was a see you next Tuesday.
Adding layers of moral and theological complexity to their actions. Such actions were considered morally and theologically perilous as they defied natural and divine laws. Accounts of witch trials like the one involving Agnes Waterhouse and her white spotted cat, familiar named Satan,
She
exemplified
named
how...
her cat Satan?
Jesus, she's just asking for it.
That's pretty metal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you think I'm a witch? Well, guess what? My
This is
cat's
Satan.
name is Hail Satan.
exemplifying how feeding blood to familiars was perceived as a damning act. Agnes's confession of providing drops of her blood to the familiar resulted in permanent marks on her skin, underscored the gravity of her alleged pact with the devil. These narratives served to reinforce the association between witches, familiars, and demonic corruption, shaping perceptions of witchcraft in early modern England.
Do you think she named her cat Satan just like to get a rise out of the townspeople?
I don't know why you would do that then, though, when it's so like your life is on the line if you're doing that, right?
Right, that's what I'm saying, but I don't know. Maybe she was just trying to fuck with them and be like, yeah, my cat's name is Satan. Yeah, you think I'm a witch?
I'm
Like,
so what? A
I
baller.
don't know.
Jesus.
Right, yeah. It's weird.
John Walsh, a practitioner of medicine and surgery, accused of witchcraft in 1566, provided detailed accounts of his involvement in maleficent magical rituals, including feeding his familiar drops of blood. These narratives illustrate the contractual nature of the relationship between witches and familiars, with blood feeding serving as a pact with the demonic familiar. Such language intersected with continental demonologies, but was integral into the English trials narratives shaped by popular beliefs about human-animal relationships and evil spirits. The relationship between witches and their familiars often mirrored standards of care for animals rather than solely exhibiting demonic traits. Familiars were nourished with common food and drink, such as milk, bread, water, or beer, in addition to blood. Visual descriptions and printed pamphlets portrayed witches feeding and caring for their familiars, sometimes with utensils or in confined spaces, reflecting a domesticated and anthropomorphized view of these creatures. To take a deep breath for that. Look at all those fucking letters!
That's a long word.
In the
Anthropomorphized.
This is a quote of some kind, not sure who's saying this. In the hands of demonologists, inquisitors, and lawmakers, the multiple components of the archetypal witch crystallized around the imagery of the quote demonic pact, the personal relationship between the witch and the devil. ... That's it. That's where it stops.
So that keeps going, but we don't know what the rest of it is.
The clergy and courts believed that witches sealed their pacts with the devil by feeding blood to the devil's agents, i.e. the familiars. John Stern's 1648 work on confirmation and discovery of witchcraft, he tells the story of Maribel Bedford, who he claims made and sealed such a pact. Helen Parrish summarizes the story.
In August 1645, self-appointed witchfinder John Stern sent 5 witches from Rattleston, Suffolk, for trial in Bury, St. Edmunds, including Maribel Bedford, who confessed that a black thing, a demon in the shape of an animal, had visited her, which asked her to deny God and Christ, and told her if she would deny them, she would never want for anything. The agreement between witch and devil, described as a covenant, was sealed by blood from Maribel's little finger, at which point further creatures appeared to her. Oh, da, da, da.
Hey, you got a good, spooky storytelling voice. I miss our spooky tales.
It's still raspy because my voice isn't awake yet. It's very deep right now.
As soon as the deal is sealed, more demons in animal form appeared, ready to do Maribel's bidding. The use of blood to seal the demonic pact disturbed the people of the 15 and 1600s England because they believed that part of the essence of being human resided in the blood, those humors that we talked about last time, and that the essence could be transferred to another creature if it was consumed. Ooh, you have another one here. Ooh.
Oh. Feeding blood to an animal inverted the natural order and imbued the creature with a quasi-human status as the recipient of human blood. To feed blood to a demon was indeed to offer one's soul to the devil, and such actions presented tantalizing proof of the corporeality of the devil that was exposed by interactions between animal familiars and witches. Leviticus 7:27 and 17:11-14.
I can't believe that's in the Bible. I've never heard of that.
I've never read the Bible, so I don't even know what's in there.
Sacrificial practices in ancient civilizations is a multifaceted exploration primarily concentrating on Mesopotamia, Hittite civilizations, and Egyptian religions. The central theme challenges the widely held notion that blood served as a universal and divine element in sacrificial rituals, examining the nuances and divergences in cultural beliefs and practices. The text initiates with an examination of Mesopotamian Semites who did not associate blood with the clay of creation tradition. This departure from the assumed link between blood and the divine creation process suggests external influences altering the core nature of rituals. The author questions the universality of the belief in the divine nature of blood, particularly in Mesopotamia, where Akkadian Semitic successors seemed to have abandoned powerful blood-centric rituals. A comparative analysis expands to the Hittite civilizations, introducing the term nagu, which means to pour, in the sacrificial context. While some argue that the pouring of a viscous substance denoted the entire sacrificial process, the text emphasizes the lack of concrete evidence supporting the ritual manipulation of blood. The ambiguity challenges the prevailing assumption that blood was the central element in the sacrificial proceedings. The exploration then widens its scope to include Egyptian religions, where the minimal emphasis on the blood of sacrifice is notable. In contrast to Hebrew practices, which treated offerings as royal meals for the gods, Egyptian rituals focused on maintaining temples and conducting festal meals to sustain these deities. The diminished role of blood in this context further questions the universality of the link between blood and the divine essence. The narrative turns toward ancient Central Arabia, expressing skepticism about the reliability of information regarding blood rituals. The potential influence of Christian Nilas reports on claims that tribes anointed altars with blood and poured out sacrificial blood is scrutinized. This skepticism raises doubts about the authenticity of practices reminiscent of Israelite rituals. Pivoting to purification and apotropic rituals, that's like protection, right?
I think so. Yeah.
The text probes Mesopotamian practices intertwined with magic. The infrequent mention of blood in these rituals suggests its diminished importance in purification ceremonies. The author questions the purification power of blood, emphasizing the scarcity of evidence supporting the central role in ancient rituals. The text concludes by challenging the idea of blood as a universally divine element in sacrificial rituals. Instead, it presents a nuanced understanding of beliefs and practices across ancient civilizations. The specificity of Hebrew traditions, which emphasized blood as a divine and life-giving element, sets them apart from contemporaneous cultures. The text encourages a reevaluation of assumptions surrounding the role of blood in ancient rituals, advocating for a more nuanced perspective rooted in available evidence. Did you get all that?
That was a lot of
God.
information.
Okay,
So blood magic is not magic that involves killing people or animals in ritual sacrifice. So let's just make that clear. We're not talking about laying some innocent creature out on an altar or in the center of a pentagram and killing it or wounding it, which is what we see in movies, right?
Oh, yeah.
This would be all kinds of wrong, unethical, not to mention illegal, and it is not at all what we mean when we are talking about blood magic. Blood magic is the use of a few drops of blood during a spell or a ritual, usually your own blood, like in the craft, right? When they put the little, they prick their own finger and they put the little bit of blood in a goblet of wine and then they drink it, right?
Consensual.
Stuff like that. But yes, but if you are casting for someone else, you could use theirs with caution and their permission, of course. And those few drops of blood can add power to a magical working in any number of ways. So let's just ask the question, is blood magic evil? So the first thing you need to learn about blood magic is that it's not inherently evil. Blood itself isn't evil, is it? Does it make you evil or desire to do malicious deeds just because it's currently inside of your body?
No.
Right? I mean, if we think about it that way, if we reframe the way we think, like it kind of sounds stupid, right? So if not, why do you think it would become evil outside of your body? Some people mistakenly think that using blood in magic is, quote, dark or somehow only associated with malevolent intentions. And this is simply not true. So the negative connotations stem back to that fear of blood that we spoke about earlier. Fear of our own mortality, fear of power, etc. Those are the kind of driving factors behind the fear of blood. Indeed, if you are hemophobic, you might want to avoid blood altogether. It's not for everyone. But this author says, I come from a more objective perspective. I see blood like any object or component you would use in magic, simply as a tool. It's a very powerful tool, but a tool nonetheless. It's neither benevolent nor malevolent in its own right. I think this person put those words in here on purpose. Just so we could speak like Jimmy. Yeah, you could use it for any number of purposes, though like any other tool, it's not advised to use for unethical purposes.
And I will say, if you are hemophobic, it's all in your intention, right? So use a stand-in. You can use pomegranate juice or beet juice or madder root. anything to
Cranberry juice.
stand in for that red viscous
Right.
fluid.
If you're Italian, use some tomato sauce.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, extra garlic.
Right. Dude, I would so be down to do a quote blood ritual without actually using blood
Yeah.
and just like have like a plate of spaghetti and like sauce.
You just want dinner?
And that would be me consuming quote blood. The red sauce
There
would
you
just
go.
be the stand-in for me and I would be able to eat pasta and that would be great.
Awesome. I'm there.
Um
What time's dinner?
usually on Sunday at 2 p.m.
Nice, nice,
Yeah.
nice, nice.
Yeah, yeah. So going back to the fire analogy, this author says, I could use fire to burn down my neighbor's home when they piss me off. I have access to fire, which can be a very, very powerful destructive choice if I choose so. And so what stops me? The fact that I am an ethical person who has no interest in hurting others. Just because I don't want to hurt someone with fire doesn't mean I shouldn't use it. By the same logic, I don't want to hurt someone with blood magic. Just because I don't want to cause harm with it doesn't mean I shouldn't feel free to utilize this powerful tool. So when you reframe it like that, it kind of makes sense, right? As long as you're using it ethically and if you're using somebody else's, obviously consent.
Totally.
So, just use your ethical means to discern what is right and what is wrong.
So, do you think in that context, when they did the blood oath on the balcony,
Oh.
was it consensual? Because like Sally sees her do it, and Gillian just kind of grabs her hand, and she's like, and
She
she's
doesn't
like,
stop her either,
okay.
so I mean, I don't know. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I think Sally was just so wrapped up in like the glamour power that Jillian kind of had over her in that moment and like telling her things that she wanted to hear, like we're gonna die on the same day. We're
Yeah.
gonna die as these two biddies with all these cats. Where I'm gonna come back for you. We're gonna be together. Like she making all these promises, and Sally's just kind of like Jillian's telling Sally what she wants to hear. So I think in that moment, Sally is just kind of like, all right, I'm taking your word for it. You're swearing on our blood, so you gotta be telling me the truth.
And she says all those things right before she takes her hand, because Sally says, like, promise.
Yes, that's
Okay, all
right.
these words are their words, so
Right.
how can you show me this is what you're feeling?
That's right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's the whole consent thing in that scenario is kind of hard to say whether or not.
I think it could have
Because
been like an unspoken sister thing. Maybe they, I
yeah.
don't know. It's something with your family. You're like, well, I guess they're beating me up now, kind of thing.
I don't know.
I don't know.
So a good implement to have for blood magic is the prickers that diabetics use to test their blood
That's what
sugar.
I
And didn't you
said.
say that in our last episode?
Yes.
You recommended those things?
Yeah.
Let's talk about how to practice safe blood magic.
Okay.
So, before we begin discussing ways to use blood and magic, let's discuss some ways to use it safely. And I think this is from the same article. So, the author says, first, there are a few don'ts to keep in mind. Don't ever take more than a few drops. Don't ever take blood from an unwilling participant, what we were just saying, consent. And this includes animals because they cannot give consent and they can't really speak for themselves. So, just don't do it. Do not smear your blood on people. Don't let people smear blood on you or try to exchange blood in any way. And remember that many diseases can be transferred through blood. Do not ever consume blood, either directly or by putting it into a drink. So the scene we were just talking about from The Craft when they prick their
Right.
fingers and put it in the wine, don't do that either.
And we're going to talk about celebrities later on who have done this, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's up, Megan Fox? We're going to talk about her. So aside from the fact that you can catch diseases, blood itself is toxic to human beings. More than a couple of teaspoons can actually cause hemochromatosis and potentially do some serious organ damage.
Ew.
Yeah, and don't let others drink your blood either directly raw or by putting it into food or drink. And this is essentially giving you power over to that person and not in a good way. And what we were kind of talking about that when we were talking about the tattooing, right? And like the tattooist inherently inking their own personal trauma and baggage into another person's skin. Like it's transference magic at
Oh,
that point,
100%.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the correct ways to perform blood magic safely. And some of these things would be sanitize the area of skin with an alcohol pad or sanitizing gel. Sanitize a small poking implement, such as a pin. Poke only enough to break the skin. Squeeze out your few drops to collect for your use. Clean the wound immediately and put some antibiotic ointment on it. If it's still bleeding, put a bandage on it. Handle and dispose of anything that has been touched with blood or with extreme caution until the end of your ritual or spell. Disinfect surfaces of your skin and your workspace, implements, and any other tools after performing blood magic.
So not the pocket knife that grody, gross boy down in the
Yeah,
garden threw
no.
Gillian.
No. Don't use no rusty ass pocket knife out of some, I don't know,
Yeah.
16-year-old kid that who knows what the fuck he used that shit on. And then keep the wound clean as it heals. So,
I'm just picturing him cutting up like, because we just got back from
cucumbers like you
Boston,
did in the
like hard
hotel.
salami and like cheese from the gas station.
Well, I was just saying, like you cut up the cucumbers in our hotel.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
sanitized.
Not sanitized at all. So this set goes on to say if you are a woman and you prefer, you can use your menstrual blood rather than pricking yourself. And you can catch menstrual blood easily with the Diva Cup if you need to temporarily preserve it for a ritual. Just don't hang on to it for very long, and all the same sanitary practices regarding care and cleanup also applies. I don't think I've ever used blood magic in my practice, but if I were to, I'd probably go the menstrual blood route just because it's already there. I don't have to like prick my finger. I don't have to cut myself. Like, I don't like doing that shit. Like, I freak out over a paper cut. Let's just be clear. Like,
Yeah.
I am a fucking puss when it comes to getting cut or like getting hurt in any way. I just don't like it. I don't like that feeling. It's uncomfortable for me. So
I don't want to intentionally damage myself, but yeah, I would be on the same menstrual. I think I've done a menstrual spell, like used that blood in the past. And they say if you're going to keep it, don't keep it long, like we just read, but keep it in like one of those brown apothecary jars so the light can't fuck with it.
okay.
I don't want to intentionally injure myself for magic, but also I have so many tattoos that it's kind of an oxymoron, you know?
Yeah, you do have a lot of tattoos. Yeah,
Um,
I don't have any tattoos, so like that's also like a thing for me, like sitting there just having a little needle prick my skin for hours on end. That just blows my mind that people are able to do that. Like I don't know how other people can do that.
but you got your nose pierced.
That was like one and done. Like it wasn't like hours of like in your skin. Like it was like boom and then it was done. And then she gave me a lollipop and I almost passed out, but then it was good. Then it
Oh,
was fine.
you're so cute.
And these ears, my ears were pierced when I was like 3. So I don't
Yeah.
even remember these. But
That's funny.
this I was like 20, I think I was like 23 or 24. I think I had just gotten out of like a long-term relationship and I was like, I'm gonna do something like, because I think I always wanted it. And I think the dude that I was with at that time, he was like, no, you don't want to pierce your nose. I'm like, yeah, I fucking do. Watch me.
Yeah.
Watch me. So I think I kind of did it out of not spite, but like I finally
But
just
watch me. Yeah,
I
like,
felt
oh,
free and it made me feel free,
I
you
like
know,
it. Yeah, it suits you. Okay.
wherever, whatever.
Whenever, women to be together,
All right, so
yeah.
I'll be there and you'll be there.
Yeah.
When and when not to use blood magic. Okay. So this author says, I can't tell you exactly when and where blood magic is your best option, but I can tell you my reasoning. I use it only in extreme need for the most important circumstances. I'll use it for protection, not minor protection, such as if my coworker is a nuisance, I'm not going to use blood magic to keep her out of the way, but major protection when there is a potential for serious life-changing threats, like an accident or a crime, etc. They also say I'll use it for health and wellness, not minor issues like sore throats or skin knees, but big health issues like diseases, injuries, surgery, or breaking unhealthy addictions. And then lastly, they say I'll use it for desperate needs, not minor things like saving money for a Disney trip, but big things like if I were on the verge of being homeless or starving, I would use it to draw what I need to survive. So
Interesting.
they only use it, I guess, in extreme circumstances.
Interesting. Just like Sally and Gillian at the end of the film.
Right.
Dire circumstances. Diamonds.
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 And that's about it. And this author says, I have more rules about when to never use it. So they say, I never use blood magic unless I'm or the person I'm doing it on behalf of is fully prepared to accept whatever the consequences may be, which means thinking them through very carefully, thinking those consequences through. I never use it to target other people without their permission, unless, of course, it's deadly necessary for protection. I had no issue banishing a violent family member who refused to leave my mother's home and threatened my life with a gun. Holy shit. This person has had quite an eventful life, it seems. They also say I never use it in love or relationship magic. Bonds between people need to be naturally developed, not forced. Blood magic turns a potential bond into a chain, emotional slavery, and I never use it to gain power. If you can't earn it naturally, you don't deserve it and probably won't know how to wield it. And then lastly, I would never use it to bring harm to anyone or anything, and I would never use it for vengeance or retaliation.
Using blood and magic. So now that we know the correct and safe way to use blood and magic, let's talk about how you might put it to use. There are countless ways, actually limited only by your imagination, but here are a few ideas to get you started. So you can use it in candle magic by mixing the blood drops with oil to dress and charge your candles. You can use a small drop or two to anoint and charge any talisman or amulet. In a jar or container magic, you can add a few drops to the blood of the container. In petition magic, you can smear some of the blood on the paper the petition is written on, even like a thumbprint as your signature. Place a drop of blood in a mojo bag before tying it up. I would like anoint the four corners of my property kind of as like an additional ward, just in my opinion. Can you add anything to that list?
I like the sealing of like, I guess a contract or something, like with myself. Spell jars, maybe? I've never made one with blood, but like I was telling you, the Love Witch, did I tell you about that scene? She like,
Oh yeah, the tampon.
yeah, she made a spell jar with her tampons.
I still gotta watch that movie.
Yeah, that movie's bananas. She used it after she killed a dude. So
Right.
obviously don't use it. Don't even go that far in that circumstances, but
Don't leave your DNA behind.
and don't
That's
leave
what
your
you're
teeth
getting at.
behind at a crime scene. Right, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what else I would use it in.
Right.
I've never thought about it because it's never interested me personally. I get squeamish when I look at blood, so
I wonder if it would be detrimental for plants. Say you left a little bit of it in like a shot glass outside, waited for rain to fill up, and it kind of gets diluted and then like bless your plants.
there is a lot of nutrients in your blood, right? So
Iron.
so you're right. So is that good for plants? I
Some
don't know.
probably.
Yeah, I don't know.
Write us in and let
There
us know what your ideas are, please. magnoliastreetpodcast@gmail.com.
carnivorous plants, maybe they would enjoy something
Oh,
like that,
yeah, that would be
like a
cool.
Venus flytrap or something.
Yes.
I don't know.
Good idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, what if you don't want to use blood? We talked about a few alternatives that we suggested, but this says, though not entirely as powerful as blood, there are other things that you can use to personalize a spell and lend it a boost. You can use urine, saliva, semen, nail and hair clippings, for example, tag locks, we talked about in our sympathetic magic episode, if you want to check that out. These are all effective options that will lend power to minor workings or workings when blood magic wouldn't be appropriate or advised. When you're first learning magic, it's advised that you work with these first before graduating on to blood. Take some time experimenting with these other things. You'll begin to get a sense of how much putting, quote, a part of you into a spell affects your magic. Once again, nothing is inherently good or bad. It all depends on how you choose to utilize it. So practice safe magic and you'll be okay.
Yeah, this article is from occultworld.com. So, called the River of Life, blood is identified with the soul and is the vehicle that carries the vital energy of the universe through the body. In magic, blood is revered and feared for the miraculous power it possesses and confers. Blood that is let is believed to unleash power. Sacrificial blood scattered on the earth regenerates the crops. Animals, fowl, and humans are sacrificed in religious and some magical rites. The blood of executed criminals is said to be a powerful protector against disease and bad luck because of the energy of resentment and fury that is released upon execution. Blood is used to bind oaths and brotherhood, either by mingling or in signing. Blood oaths are considered inviolate. According to lore, devil's pacts are always signed in blood. In folklore, the magical power of witches is neutralized or destroyed by burning their blood in fires.
When you and Avi signed Black Phillip's book, was it red ink?
I don't remember. No, I think it was just a ballpoint pen.
Like a Bic? Not a Bic. What do they call it? Yeah, a Bic.
Yeah. It might have been like a quill and I don't even
Okay.
remember what it was. I don't think it was red though.
That would have been a nice touch.
It would have been, right?
Come on,
Yeah.
Black Phillip.
Yeah. It was a person on stilts in the woods. I don't fucking know. They had to stand there for hours on stilts, the
Oh,
poor
yeah.
person in that costume.
Poor
Yeah.
buddy.
Yeah. So in folklore, the magical power of witches is neutralized or destroyed by burning their blood in fires, hence the common European method of execution by burning at the stake or the practice called blooding. Witches were scored above the breath, cut above the mouth and nose, and allowed to bleed, sometimes to death.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's
Like across the eyes?
yeah, in the eye.
In the eye.
In the eye. Shakespeare made use of the blooding custom in part one of King Henry VI when Talbot sees Joan of Arc. Devil or devil's dam, I'll conjure thee, blood will I draw from thee. Thou art a witch, and straightway give thou soul to him thou servest. A few drops of blood of a person used in magical charms and spells, sprinkled in potions and witch bottles or effigies, is said to give a witch or magician power over that person. In the same manner as do hair or nail clippings, which he's talked about before, animal blood also is used in folk charms and spells, and the blood of a black cat is said to cure pneumonia. So, menstrual blood is particularly potent and is sacred to the goddess. Menstrual flow is linked to the phases of the moon. The blood of the goddess, also called wine, milk, mead, and wise blood, appears universally in mythologies. It is drunk for wisdom, fertility, regeneration, and immortality. The menstrual blood of the goddess is valued as a healing charm. The blood of Iris, symbolized in an ambrosia drink, conferred divinity on pharaohs. According to Taoism, red yin juice, as menstrual blood was called, confers long life or immortality. A pagan custom that has survived Christianity is the carrying of seeds to the field in a cloth stained with menstrual blood. In some shamanic cultures, menstrual periods are said to be accompanied by prophetic dreams that guide the shamaness to be to her path of power. In patriarchies such as Christianity and Judaism, men traditionally feared menstrual blood, surprise fucking surprise, which was associated with uncleanliness and evil. Contact with menstrual blood, or even being in the presence of a menstruating woman, was considered dangerous, even fatal. In some societies, menstruating women are still shunned or isolated, lest they pollute the earth and harm others with their blood. That is so fucking ridiculous.
I
That
want to
is so
say,
ridiculous.
plugging that Dove Keeper's book again that Alice talks about, and it's 70 years after Jesus's death, but it's about this
Okay.
specifically. And like she does take time, like multiple times in the book. I think it follows the three women,
Uh-huh.
but to say like them removing themselves from that unquote unclean time, which is really
Wow.
like, that's amazing she put that in there. Because not a
Yeah.
lot of books they'll have the heroine or, the female lead going through the story
Right.
for months, no mention of a menstrual cycle, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
thought that was really cool. I really
That is
highly
interesting.
recommend Dove Keepers.
I still never read that, but yeah, you've reminded me now. I want to read that.
Yeah. I sent you another book on Goodreads called The Hangman's Daughter.
Uh-huh.
Pretty dang good. Ending,
Yeah.
but the rest of the book really good, like witchy shit.
All right, I'll just have to check some of those books out. I haven't read any like good books in a while.
Okay.
So in the first century, ancient Romans believed the touch of a menstruating woman could blunt knives, blast fruit, sour wine, rust iron, and cloud mirrors. In the Old Testament, Leviticus 18:19 states, "You shall not come near a woman while she is impure by her uncleanliness to uncover her nakedness." In Orthodox Judaism, the Talmud specifies that husband and wife are to be sexually separated and sleep in different beds for 12 days a month, an average of 5 days for menstruation, followed by 7, quote, clean days to make sure the woman is free of every drop of, quote, this doesn't say quote, but I'm saying, quote, pollutant.
Right.
Because they're just like acting like this shit, like they're acting like our own blood is making us dirty. I don't get it. I don't understand. So it says sex may be resumed after a ritual bath called mikveh, in which the woman is to scrub every part of her body. It is still the custom among some Orthodox Jews not to shake hands with a woman lest she be menstruating, and never to use the same wash water as a woman for the same reason. In Christianity, menstrual blood has been similarly scorned and feared. Early church scholars shamed women for their uncleanliness. At various times, up to the late 17th century, menstruating women were forbidden to partake in communion, or in some cases, even to enter church. Menstrual blood was believed to spawn demons?
Diamonds.
Some factions within the Catholic Church continue to believe menstruating women would defile an altar, one reason why they should not be admitted into the priesthood. In some magical ceremonies, menstruating women are barred from participation because it is believed their flux interferes with the raising of psychic power and effectiveness of spells. I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense because let's say like during our time of the month, what do you like think that would like supercharge us with our own magic? So I
Totally.
could see
Yes.
why they would think that a woman on her on her period would be so powerful that it would cause like an interference. Like, you know, when you have a cell phone by a speaker and it's like, I could see how they would think it would like interfere with other workings,
I can
right?
see that.
I
I
could
can see
see how,
that.
right.
But if we're thinking of the menstrual cycle like a moon cycle, the blood releasing to me would be more new moon energy because it's like
Hmm,
leaving. But then what would be full moon energy? Like ovulation? Because you're gaining
maybe,
those eggs, you know?
maybe.
So
I
wouldn't you
would,
be more powerful? I don't know. I don't know.
yeah.
This is a whole new way of thinking about this.
I would associate, I guess, the menstrual cycle as more of like, I guess, a waning moon because waning is like getting it out of your system and like tapering off, kind of like because like the egg is, you know, releasing, dying. So I would associate it with the waning moon. I would
Okay.
think, and then maybe that period after your menstrual cycle, like that week after the menstrual cycle, that would be
Your
more
dark phase. Yeah.
new moon to me. Yeah,
Cool. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But I can definitely see everything's heightened.
right.
All your emotions are heightened. So that intrinsically probably means that you are maybe more spiritually powerful and could upset whatever working that they're trying to do. Not saying
Right,
it's right, but
right.
I'm saying it definitely could be that way. And that's I think
Yeah.
why they also hold like red tent ceremonies. Are they for the young maiden going into her womanhood or is it for every woman to celebrate their menses?
I've heard about them. I haven't done too much research into like what they're actually what the purpose of those
Hmm.
ceremony or red tent ceremonies are for, but that would be something interesting to look into.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so in folk magic, menstrual blood is believed to be a powerful ingredient in love philters and charms. A few drops of menstrual blood mixed in with a man's meal supposedly will secure his undying
Oh
love.
gosh.
Jesus. Conversely, menstrual blood also is used in charms to cause impotency. Blood is identified with the soul and is the vehicle that carries the vital energy of the universe through the body. In magic, blood is revered and feared for the miraculous power it possesses and confers. Blood that is let is believed to unleash power. Sacrificial blood scattered on the earth regenerates the crops. Animals, fowl, and humans are sacrificed in religious and some magical rites. All right, so that's about all we have for that half. So I think we're going to go ahead and take our break right now. And when we come back, what are we going to talk about?
I don't know. I can't scroll. I'm
Oh
sorry.
no. All right, so we're going to talk about different kinds, I guess, blood inks. And then we're going to talk about some blood pop in pop culture, in history. And remember last week when we were talking about, we were kind of speculating like what the deal was with secret societies and
Yeah.
fraternities.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, we're gonna talk about some of that when we
Okay.
return. So we will be right back. Hey, little witches! The Stinas here. If you've been listening to our podcast for a while, you would know how much we love using the Practical Magic Inner Witch Oracle deck by Grounded by the Moon.
And now we want to share the magic of Grounded by the Moon with you, our listeners. Joseph Benitez Egerton, the creator behind Grounded by the Moon, would like to offer this very special 10% off discount to all who wish to experience the magic of his Practical Magic themed tarot and oracle decks.
But that's not all. He also creates other divination tools like tarot workbooks, deck bags and altar cloths, pendulum kits, oil blends, cleansing sprays, smoke wands, teas, and ritual kits.
And let's not forget about his custom handcrafted all-natural soy candles, where every candle is hand-poured and personally infused and charged under the light of the moon. They even come with a crystal.
And did we mention all of the ingredients in the candles are ethically sourced?
All of Joseph's offerings are just so magical. So go visit groundedbythemoon.com and use the coupon code Magnolia Magick for 10% off your entire order at checkout.
That's MAGNOLIA MAGIC. So get your discount today.
This is Jimmy Angelo. I feel very into the Stinas right now, and you are listening to Magnolia Street Podcast.
Welcome back, Guys, we're not going to do a card pull. We did one last episode in part 1. We're going to dive right into some like blood ink. So this says, in this context, blood is an ink prepared with resin, roots, and herbs for magical purposes. The name comes from the blood magic traditions, but modern recipes do not contain any actual blood. Instead, they are made by combining water, alcohol, and botanical ingredients, often with gum arabic, as a thickening agent. One of the most important ingredients is dragon's blood resin. Traditionally, it was obtained from Dracaena cinnamari, cute, but it refers to a resin from Dracaena croton. Oh God, fucking Latin. Daemonorops, calamus, and Pterocarpus species. Don't know what any of those are. Today, resins from Daemonorops is more common. Daemonorops. Okay. This resin gives the ink its color and acts as a power herb, meaning that it strengthens any magical mixture to which it is added. This makes an ideal base for different magical inks. So how do you use these in a magical ritual? It says blood inks draw on a strong tradition of blood magic, but are completely cruelty-free and ethical to use. Some spells refer to writing things in blood. This is not actual physical blood, though some spells certainly do call for that. Instead, it is a specific kind of ink that resembles blood. Like we talked about, you can use pomegranate, beet juice, madder root. These go by a variety of names, and each type has its own specific set of uses. Let's talk about dragon's blood first. This is one of the most versatile blood inks, since dragon's blood resin adds power to whatever it's added to. It can be used for virtually any ritual. It is especially helpful for workings for protection, power, and luck. You may use it the way you would use any other ink. Some use it to paint symbols on the skin, but it should only be done with inks that you are certain aren't poisonous, made with poisonous ingredients. If you need a little help in the luck department, write your desire on a piece of parchment using a quill pen dipped in dragon's blood ink. It can be a scrap of paper and a ballpoint pen with the ink, but or like a stick from outside, because you're gonna end up dipping that tool into that blood ink. You want to keep it simple and real fucking cheap. So then what you'll do is tuck it under a Fast Luck custom Big Al candle, which this author supplies. The link will be in our show notes. Light the candle and let it burn until it's completely consumed. Bury the remains near your front door to attract luck to you.
Cool.
Tell me about
try that.
Bad
That's from
blood.
originalbotanica.com.
My favorite word in Croatian is shishmish, which
What's
is
that?
like little mouse, which like it's a bat. Shishmish is a bat. And I
That's
think it's so cute.
Shishmish.
Shishmish.
I like that.
That's kind of the sound they make too. Shishmish. Squeaky, squeaky, squeaky.
It's cute. In Italian, mouse is topochijo.
Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah, little mouse. Topochijo. Yeah. Shishmish. I like shishmish though. That's cute. All right, so bat's blood ink typically includes ingredients for binding or cursing, as well as banishing and breaking curses. Think of this as the ink for the, quote, poison pen letter. It is very useful for protecting yourself against those seeking to do you harm, either by breaking or sending back their baneful spells or binding them. If you have been cursed, write the name of the cursor on a slip of parchment with the bat's blood ink, light a curse remover custom scented candle and place the parchment in front of it and say, "What you have done, I now undo. What you send to me, I return to you."
Like I am rubber.
Yeah,
Blue.
basically. Yeah, just sending them back their own bullshit.
Yeah. In the craft scene when she's binding Nancy, does she re-prick her finger?
No, she has a photo of Nancy, and she just has the ribbon, and she's just wrapping it around saying, "I bind you, Nancy. I bind you from doing harm against others, and harm against yourself." But that shit didn't work, because then Nancy like found out, and she was like, "Are you trying to bind me, bitch? Like, what?"
That movie is so good.
Yeah, I fucking love that movie. Do you know how many people I binded as a kid because I saw that shit in that movie?
Really?
Yeah.
Quite a few?
Yeah, a few. I don't remember if it worked or not, but yeah, I binded a few people.
If you know, you know.
If you know, yeah, exactly. So yeah, after you say that little incantation, hold the slip carefully in the candle's flame until it catches fire. Drop it into a fireproof bowl and allow it to burn to ash. Let the candle burn completely and dispose of the remains and ashes far away from your home. And here we go. We're going to talk about the dove's blood ink because we've talked about doves quite a bit on the show, and the Owens aunts, they love using their doves. So dove's blood ink is essentially the opposite of bat's blood, where bat's blood is used to repel, bind, banish, and curse, and provide more aggressive protection magic. Dove's blood is for love, loyalty, reconciliation, and friendship.
That makes total sense with the women coming to keep their husbands around or draw in love. 100%.
Yes. It is often floral since it's commonly made with Venus-aligned herbs like rose and jasmine. Ooh, that sounds like it smells very pretty. It is a useful addition to love drawing spells. Just a reminder, guys, these dove's blood ink, bat's blood ink, dragon's blood ink, like obviously dragons aren't real, but bats and doves, like this isn't real blood used from these real animals. This is a combination of herbs and like other things. Like you're not harming any animals in the use of these inks, correct? Yes, just want to throw that out there again. The quote dove's blood ink is a useful addition to any love drawing spells. To bring in a new lover, start on a Friday during a waxing moon. Write a list of the characteristics you desire using dove's blood ink. Place it under a piece of rose quartz and set it before a love drawing candle, dressed with a drop of love oil. Light the candle, allow it to burn down some, and then snuff it out. The next night, add another drop of love oil and light it again. Allow it to burn, then snuff it. Continue this for a total of 7 days, ending on the next Friday. On the final day, allow the candle to burn completely. Bury the list and the remains of the candle near your front door and carry the rose quartz with you as a love charm. So blood inks draw on a strong tradition of blood magic, but are completely cruelty free and ethical to use. We're not using any actual animal blood. They combine powerful herbs, roots, and resins into a potent mixture that you can use to add power to any of your workings. And that is on originalbotanica.com. We will link that in our show notes if you guys want to check this site out.
I don't know if I would be patient enough to make my own. Out of these 3 or 4 that we just talked about, I think I'd just go buy it.
Yeah, you'll probably find it somewhere. It is a lot of work. And making any kind of inks is very, very messy. Like I know the ones that we just talked about are made out of roots and resins, and grinding resins down, like resins, like they're hard, they're gummy, right? They're kind of
like
I'm guessing they could be messy to grind down, but from speaking from like my experience, I've only ever made inks with like berries from outside, and that is fucking messy. That's messy. So you definitely, and they stain. So you want to do that outside. You definitely want to do, if you're making any kind of berries as ink, definitely want to do that outside and use tools that you don't mind staining.
Totally. Yeah. And invest in like the food safe gloves or just rubber gloves would definitely help.
Yeah.
And this makes me think we just had our syrup episode, right? And we talked about the maple trees and different trees you can tap and get syrup out of, and one of them was the black walnut tree, which we have, but those things are like the inside are so dark, so black. But when we talked about it on our syrup episode, we talked about a black walnut tree's poisonous qualities, which I think would be like very helpful in some maybe more gray workings. But
for sure,
I didn't even think of that until now.
Pokeberry is poisonous too, like the little seeds inside.
Yeah. Oh, true.
So yeah,
and it's a prettier color.
Pokeberry is very pretty. It's like this like bright magenta kind of purpley color, which is weird because the berries are like a dark deep blue. So I was surprised to see such a bright color come out of like a darker color berry. So it's very, very pretty, but it does stain. And yeah, I had to use the food prep gloves so I didn't stain my hands. I have a second set of tools for like, making any kind of like berries inks or whatever. A separate set of tools for outside use. And I don't bring that stuff in the house because, those berries are poisonous and I don't want my cats around any of the stuff that I bring inside. So I just
absolutely
keep all that stuff outside.
This next article is an ongoing in-process thesis by Francesca Mattioni. And I'm going to have to re-find this link because the one here takes me to like a not found page. So I'm not sure what happened there.
Okay.
This thesis explores the dual nature of blood, seen as both fertile and positive, as well as dangerous and negative. This thesis argues that the Reformation's impact on mentalities influenced the changing ideas about blood and the body from late medieval times to the 18th century, providing insights into social and religious tensions, including witch trials. Anthropological theories are employed to compare the relationship between blood and body and identity and society, linking them to the conflict of life and death. The comparative approach also analyzed blood symbolism in Protestant and Catholic countries, exploring cultural similarities and religious differences. The thesis utilizes historical sources such as witches' confessions and combines them with examples from anthropology to examine popular ideas that reside or merge with learned notions. Different sections of society attribute diverse meanings to blood, representing the physical struggle for life and the spiritual value of the Christian soul. Specific chapters focus on the ritual murder accusation. European witchcraft, supernatural beliefs, and blood themes in Protestant England and counter-Reformation Italy. The analysis aims to demonstrate the perceptions of dangerous or extraordinary individuals were rooted in the instability of the body, contributing to ethnic, religious, and gender stereotypes. In exploring the cultural perceptions of blood and body in relation to witchcraft beliefs during the early modern period, it became evident that the supernatural activities attributed to witches were often intertwined with emotions rooted in societal and religious contexts. The sacrifice of blood as a tangible and physical element, encapsulated both life and death, played a central role in shaping these beliefs. Early modern people recognized the soul as the force enlivening the blood. Yet, there is no universal agreement on the nature of the soul. Religious perspectives viewed the Christian soul as spiritually preserved through Christ's sacrificial blood, while philosophical theories presented contrasting views. The mystical union between human soul and God, symbolized by blood, was seen as a vehicle for eternal life. However, the perceptions of common people differed, emphasizing corporal fantasies and the impact of witches on physical existence rather than spiritual concerns. The conflict between the mundane and the supernatural dimensions generated fear in the community, with theologians highlighting blood as the place where supernatural forces manifested for salvation or damnation. In contrast, the majority of the populace was concerned with preserving actual life, invoking either God or the devil in attempts to escape poverty and death. Blood themes emerged prominently in ritual murder accusations during the medieval period, notably against the Jewish community, reinforcing ethnic and religious divisions. The bodily structure, boundaries, and openings were viewed in relation to the movement of blood, signifying life, death, violation, wholeness, pollution, cleansing, sin, and redemption. As Carolyn Walker Bynum noted, medieval piety saw the body as an opportunity for redemption rather than entrapment. The unstable nature of the female body manifested through menstruation led to societal efforts to contain and control the transgressive power of women's blood. This in turn influenced perceptions of gender and cultural values. Late medieval witchcraft beliefs gained prominence during the witch trials, coinciding with the crucial struggle between Protestant and Catholic authorities. The multifaceted nature of the blood theme encompassed violence, love, devotion, passion, and magical properties, with contrasting perspectives in Catholic and Protestant worlds. Magical theories and the idea of sorcery were prevalent in late medieval and early modern Europe, featuring characteristics such as non-physical means to harm, activities within small communities, social disapproval, inheritance, and counter magic. While beliefs in witches and witchcraft were not universally attested, the significance of blood and its cultural meaning span various societies. Rituals, beliefs, and meanings associated with blood were explored from prehistorical contexts to contemporary cultures, encompassing history, anthropology, and archaeological research. Blood, its qualities, and the cultural interpretations were linked to themes of violence, diversity, social acceptance, and exclusion. Witchcraft belief analyzed the first chapter, revealed the Protestant conception of the devil's pact, the witch's mark, bodily fluids, and maleficent magic.
Maleficent
I
magic.
was listening to you, Jimmy, all yesterday. It was cracking me up. And the use of blood and the body in constructing the ideal human enemy. The witch figure that emerged depicted supernatural elements linked to a gender stereotype, as we all know, intertwining concerns about the body and physical reality. The witch's body became evidence of a dangerous power, emphasizing the exchange between supernatural forces and the physical world through blood. Blood themes in early modern Europe were integral to witchcraft beliefs, and the diffusion of witch trials, portraying the bodily liquid as a crucial means of exchange between the devil, and his allies. Blood placed at the center of social conflict marked the dangerous, quote, others within the community, sacrificing human and religious identity to supernatural enemies. It functioned as an indicator of victims and aggressors, shaping people's identity through their bodies. The prominence of blood in patterns of social and religious exclusion and violence was not a novelty, but extended to ritual murder accusations against Jews in late modern Europe. The flowing of blood served as a landmark between bodily and spiritual worlds, distinguishing between polluting carnal agents and pure moral ones. Blood's power was demonized in Protestant contexts, becoming the principal vehicle for the devil, while retaining positive values in Catholic countries. Saints, bleeding bodies, and the cult of relics expressed these positive values, forbidden love magic notwithstanding. The universal beliefs regarding blood and the body persisted, with Melissa L. Meyer examining rituals, beliefs, and the meaning across various cultures from prehistoric contexts to contemporary societies. Blood symbol in the dichotomy of life and death encompassed crucial passages of social and individual existence, including conception, birth, adulthood, and ideas of sacrifice, gender, and identity. Witchcraft beliefs were further delved into, highlighting Protestant and Catholic differences in the witchcraft era. Supernatural elements like unnatural bloodthirst, harming through magic, and gender stereotypes of witches being generally old and female emerged. Check out our, what was it called?
Spinsters?
Spinsters.
Spinsters.
Popular culture reflected a complex emotional universe where concerns about the body and physical reality were concerned. The witch's body, especially its fluids, became a means of exchange between supernatural forces and the physical world. This emphasized the instability with certain individuals, defining the ideal status of victims and aggressors.
Damn.
I know.
All right, so let's talk about some blood magic practitioners throughout history.
Yay!
Yeah.
I'm excited about this one.
So, this name coming up sounds a little familiar.
We talked about her, remember, in she bathed in the blood of
That's
virgins.
right.
Yes.
They did an episode on her on
Lore.
Lore. Yeah, did you ever see that episode?
No, but I just listened to us talking about that, and I don't know what episode. It must have been the Jimmy episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, this bitch is cray. Okay? Yeah, we're going to talk about her now. So Elizabeth Bathory was the first one on this list. So depending on the account, Hungarian Countess Elizabeth Bathory, she was either a murderous maniac or a pawn incriminated by family and foes keen to seize her holdings. So this says Bathory is often proclaimed to be the most prolific female serial killer of all time, accused of slaying more than 600 young women inside her lavish castles. According to legend, she believed that bathing in their virginal blood would grant her eternal youth. Instead, it assured that she lived long in infamy. Bathory's alleged sadism has inspired films, plays, operas, television shows, aka lore, even video games. However, this long-standing narrative is being questioned by researchers who believe Bathory's crimes were likely exaggerated as part of a conspiracy against her.
Didn't they use this as like a plot line in American Horror Story Coven for Madame Lalaurie? Which she didn't really, but she would put like the blood on her face to try to
Is that
her up.
Is that who they were kind of
I think
referencing?
so. I don't think Lalaurie, I don't think she actually did that.
Okay. Was that the one played by Kathy Bates?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they were kind of like referencing her, but that wasn't the same character name, right? She wasn't Elizabeth.
No. Madame Lalaurie is like oh my gosh, she's so
A
fascinating.
whole other thing.
My question is, did you watch the hotel season? I didn't finish it, but isn't that so like Lady Gaga had something similar?
She was a
Didn't she have like a
vampire.
bloodbath she would go into?
I don't remember she went into a bloodbath, but she did eat some men. Like,
Okay, yeah.
not eat them, but like, she would lure them, she would seduce
such a
them, and then friggin' like take them out. Like, she would just have a feast. Yeah.
Yeah, Black Widow.
Yeah, basically. It was some people believe that her crimes were exaggerated as a part of conspiracy against her. Nevertheless, tourists intrigued by Bathory's gory legend continue to follow her tale across Hungary, Slovakia, and Austria, visiting castles, crypts, and museums. Visitors to the Hungarian town of Nadırbator about 170 miles east of Hungary's capital Budapest, and can stare the Countess in the eye in the Bathory Castle and Wax Museum, which displays wax effigies of Bathory and her relatives. The museum occupies the renovated castle where in 1560 she was born into a wealthy dynasty that controlled Transylvania, now a region of Romania. And do you think that's kind of like where the whole vampire kind of legend came from? Because like she's from Transylvania, sucking the blood of these young virgins, like
It
that's
doesn't help
vampire.
about the next person that we're going to talk about, like Vlad the Third.
Right, Vlad the
either.
Impaler?
Yeah.
So I mean a lot of like weird blood sucking shit came from that region. So I could see why, Transylvania is now like the vampire capital of the world, right? Yeah.
Just it's like vampire Disneyland, but all the rides are like the water rides are just blood.
Blood.
Like,
Could you imagine going on a log flume? It's just like blood.
that's exactly what I was thinking.
A blood flume.
They would be so happy.
Or it's not like a log you're riding in, it's like a tampon.
A leg. Oh shit. I think we're onto something.
A leg. All right, yeah. So where did we leave off? So yeah, she was born into a wealthy dynasty which controlled Transylvania, and that is now the region of Romania. But Bathory's privileged upbringing was tainted by violence and health problems, according to Aleksandra Bartosiewicz of Poland's University of Lodz, who in 2018 published a research paper on the Countess. And they say, already at the age of 4 or 5, she suffered from epileptic seizures, violent mood swings, as well as painful migraines.
So something that could have been treated in today's society. Wow.
Yes. So Bathory was also exposed to brutality. Servants were routinely beaten in this era, and at age 6, she watched a public execution. And at 13, Bathory was engaged to an 18-year-old Count Ferenc Nadasdy from another influential Hungarian family, and they married 2 years later. So she was still even like 15 when they
She was a
got married.
child.
Yeah, exactly. And he was like, by that time that they got married, he was 20. So they eventually had 4 children.
Goddamn.
So in 1575, Bathory married Count Ferenc Nadasdy, the same guy, a celebrated but ruthless soldier depicted here in a 17th century portrait. So we'll post the links to these articles if you guys want to go check out all the pictures and stuff. So as newlyweds, they moved to Savar in western Hungary, where Nadasdy schooled his wife in torture. Nadasdy Castle became the site of a number of atrocities, Bartosiewicz says. For Bathory's pleasure, Nadasdy had a girl restrained, lathered in honey, and ravaged by insects.
I've heard about that one.
I never heard that one. He gifted the Countess gloves spiked by claws with which to thrash her servants for their mistakes. Further corruption came from Bathory's Aunt Clara, who introduced her to orgies and a shadowy circle of people considered sorceresses, witches, and alchemists. Bathory's violence peaked within another grand fortress. The crumbled remains of Kachtis Castle are now an eerie tourist attraction, looming above the town of Kachtis in western Slovakia, 50 miles northeast of the capital Bratislava. Visitors can roam this lofty site, from which startling rumors tumble down the hillside in the early 1600s.
Oh god.
I'm sure the energy there must be like so fucking heavy.
I cannot imagine.
Walking through there? Oh
Jesus.
my god. Bathory moved to Chachtis in 1604 after her husband died. Tales of her malice towards staff became so widespread that local families hid their daughters from her service, says Tony Thorne, a linguist of King's College London and author of the 1998 book Countess Dracula, The Life and Times of Elizabeth Bathory. So, was she the first Dracula? Like,
This is 1610. We're gonna get to him. I think he was 1610. I think they were on the same. His death was 1476, so he was prior to her.
prior to her. Okay. All right.
Prior, right? Before? Yeah.
Yeah. Just for some context, if anybody was wondering. So what finally undid the widow countess was extending her abuse to victims of a higher class, says Rachel Bledsaw, adjunct faculty in the history department at Washington State's Highline College. They say killing serfs and servants, who indeed had fewer rights, was gauche, but not really illegal for a noble. That's so fucked up. So, like, nobles could just get away with murder?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's fucked.
They're material possessions, basically.
Right. So that's what Bledsaw said, who wrote a thesis on Bathory. So Rachel says, Killing your fellow nobles, even ones of lower rank, was a far more serious problem and not one that could be ignored.
She got caught.
And yeah. So finally in 1610, an investigation began into dozens of suspicious deaths and disappearances in Chachtis, launched by Matthias II, King of Hungary. With the testimony of dozens of witnesses, Bathory was arrested and imprisoned in Chachtis Castle for the murder of 80 young women, Bledsaw says. Some witnesses estimated her body count at more than 600. Yet, the Countess was never convicted and her husband could not be prosecuted from his grave. Instead, 4 of Bathory's servants were convicted of violence against young women in her castles. The Countess, meanwhile, remained locked in her spacious jail until she died in 1614 at the age of 54.
So house arrest.
Yeah, so that was from nationalgeographic.com. That's crazy.
Goddamn.
Okay. Aleister Crowley.
The man.
Do you want to take this
The
one?
power top. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you want all the information on him, go check out Last Podcast on the Left. Not sponsors. They have a great multi-part series about him. But Aleister Crowley was actually born Edward Aleister Crowley on the 12th of October, 1875, and he died in 1947. And he was an English occultist. He was also like a, what's it called when your parents have a lot of money and like you're going to inherit that money?
A trust fund baby?
He's a trust fund baby, yes.
Okay, got it.
Philosopher, ceremonial magician, poet, painter, novelist, and mountaineer. I think he scaled multiple mountains multiple times.
Holy shit.
He founded the religion of Thelma, which incorporated elements of ritual magic and mystical practices, identifying himself as the prophet entrusted with guiding humanity to the Aeon of Horus in the early 20th century. I'm probably not saying that right. The Aeon of Horus? A prolific writer, he published widely over the course of his life. Crowley's writings and teachings often explored themes of sex magic, blood sacrifice, and contacting supernatural entities. So a specific example of like a blood ritual is called the Algeria and the Rites of Eleusis, 1909 to 1911. So this rite took a couple years, I guess.
What?
In November 1909, Crowley and Neuberg traveled to Algeria.
Michael Neumann.
Michael, that's what I think. So listening to the last podcast, they say Neuberg, and it just reminds me of Michael name. Neuberg is a simp for Crowley. Firstly.
Okay.
Oh.
So, okay. Did they have like a relationship?
Yes, I think.
Okay. He's a simp.
Touring the desert of El Arba to Armel, Bou Sada, and the Dahal Adin with Crowley reciting the Quran on a daily basis. That would be annoying as shit. Oh my god. During the trip, he invoked the 30 Aethras of Enochian magic, with Neuberg recording the results, later published in the Equinox, I guess magazine, as The Vision and the Voice. Following the mountaintop sex magic ritual, Crowley also performed an evocation to the demon Kronanzan.
Chorizo?
Chorizo?
The demon chorizo?
Kronanzan, involving blood sacrifice, and considered the results to be a watershed in his magical career. Is that good or bad?
I don't know.
Returning to London in January 1910, Crowley found that Mathers was suing him for publishing the Golden Dawn secrets in the Equinox, which is the magazine. A court found it in favor of Crowley. The case was widely reported in the press, with Crowley gaining wider fame, and Crowley enjoyed this and played it up to the sensationalist stereotype of being a Satanist and advocating for human sacrifice, despite being neither. He was
just ruffling some feathers. Like he knew he was getting to people, and he was like, I'm just gonna keep going with this because this is just entertaining for me. That's
Absolutely.
What it sounds like. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tell us about Vladislav Tepes.
Vladislav is Vlad the Impaler, I'm guessing. So Vlad III was also nicknamed Draculia, meaning son of the dragon in medieval Romanian. He killed approximately 80,000 people in his lifetime. Now, though Vladislav has no direct link to magic or, well, like magic like magician kind of magic or magic like witchcraft magic, his story is one that obviously has fascinated people for centuries, enough so to inspire the eponymous villain of Bram Stoker's classic 1897 novel Dracula. The bloodshed, Vlad's use of impalement, was not merely a method of execution, but a deliberate strategy to inspire terror. By displaying his victims' impaled bodies, he sought to intimidate enemies into submission and discourage dissent among his own subjects. This extreme brutality can be viewed through the lens of ritual sacrifice, with Vlad harnessing the symbolic power of blood to assert dominance, which is also sympathetic magic.
Right? I would put that in that category.
Okay. So 15th century prince of Wallachia, now southern Romania, known by the moniker Vlad the Impaler because of his preferred method of execution, impaling his victims on spikes. Vlad became, what's that word?
Like Prince. Vivode?
Voivode?
Voivode?
Voivode? Voivode? Voivode?
Voivode?
Voivode.
Volvo.
Vlad became voivode of Wallachia himself 3 times, in fact interrupted by periods of exile or captivity between 1448 and his death, 1476, so it's 77. Should I just finish this like Jimmy?
Yeah.
Over time, Vlad the Third's reputation has been embellished with fantastical elements in folklore and legend. Stories of his cruelty and inhumanity have often been exaggerated, portraying him as a demonic figure capable of supernatural feats. In some tales, Vlad is depicted as engaging in dark rituals, making pacts with malevolent entities, further linking him to the realm of blood magic and occult practices. And that's what Jimmy, right? He's the Dracula cowboy, so this is right up his alley.
Totally.
Yeah. Tell us about this article that you found.
Yeah. When looking into Vlad, I stumbled across this article entitled "Scientists Find Evidence That Vlad the Impaler Might Have Shed Tears of Blood." A letter from 1475 contained proteins suggesting that he suffered from hemolacria, respiratory problems.
This is a cool little this parchment thing. That's cool.
Oh, so pretty. He's got great handwriting. So, hoping to learn more about Vlad and the general environment in which he lived, the author of the new study turned to 3 letters written by Vlad addressed to the ruler of the city of Sibiu. The first 2 were written in 1475, one of which includes Vlad's personal signature. Those letters have been stored in the Sibiu's archives for more than 500 years and were never subjected to any kind of restoration efforts. The third letter was written in 1457 and was restored in Bucharest in the 20th century, although the author states that the process was carried out in such a way as to minimize any biological or chemical contamination of the document. It says that this third letter penned by Vlad in 1457 is on the left, and then on the right, they show a mapping of the fluorescence of phenylalanine,
tyrosine and tryptophan. Isn't that what's in like turkey? Like the stuff that makes you fall asleep in turkey, right?
Yeah, they had this under the flash of a UV illumination. So all told, the team identified 100 ancient human peptides, 31 of which were deemed of particular interest, and an additional 2,000 peptides of bacteria, viruses, insects, fungi, and green plants. Those 31 human peptides were related to blood proteins, or the respiratory system, as well as ciliopathy and retinal disease, or inflammation processes, per the authors. One of the letters from 1475 contained 3 peptides specifically associated with proteins of the eye's retina and tears.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying that they were like using like eyeball blood to write these letters?
Well, I think it's saying that he had a respiratory disease that caused him to leak blood from his eyes.
Oh God.
Oh God.
But he's just like he's like writing these letters and his tears are hitting the page.
Right?
Like what
I've met people that have like constant wet, like extra wet eyes. I don't know. They're always like dabbing their eyes.
Punky's always got watery eyes.
Yeah, he's just got bloody eyes.
Yeah, weird.
The author thus concluded that Vlad III may have suffered from the medical condition known as hemolacria, in which a person sheds tears of blood, as well as skin inflammation and respiratory illnesses. He may have also been exposed to plague-related bacteria or fruit flies and other pests, based on the non-human peptides analyzed. There are caveats, of course, most notably the fact that the author cannot entirely rule out the possibility that the human proteins could have come from other medieval people who have handled this document. However, quote, "It is also presumable that the most ancient proteins should be related to Prince Vlad the Impaler, who wrote and signed these letters," the author concluded. I think these photos are fascinating. I don't know how common that disease is, but it's interesting that it's blood connected with him. That's on like a physical proof.
Document.
Yeah,
Right,
physical
yeah.
document that's been analyzed. Really cool.
That's crazy.
And that was from quite a few different sources.
A lot of sources there. Yeah, we'll link all those if you guys want to check those out. If you want to read more about Vlad the Impaler and how he's an emo little boy that just cries blood.
Oh, he's
Um,
just an emo little boy.
emo little boy, emo little vampire boy.
Man.
So what's this next word? Gilesterai? Gilesterai. This is French. A 15th century French nobleman and companion in arms of Joan of Arc. He was convicted of crimes including murder, sodomy, and heresy. He was rumored to have engaged in occult rituals involving the sacrifices of children, purportedly in pursuit of supernatural powers. So that's all we have on him. I guess we're not gonna dive too far down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But he sounds like a fuck. He sounds like a fuck. Yeah. All right. The next one is Heinrich Kramer and Jacob Sprenger. Although not practitioners themselves, these two Dominican friars were responsible for writing the infamous Malleus Maleficarum, the Hammer of Witches, a treatise on witchcraft published in the late 15th century. The Malleus Maleficarum fueled the witch hunts of the early modern period, promoting the belief in witchcraft and providing a framework for identifying, prosecuting, and executing supposed witches, often through brutal means involving blood rituals. But wouldn't that inherently, in and of itself, be witchcraft, like a blood ritual? So they're curing witchcraft with witchcraft?
It sounds like you're surprised at their hypocrisy.
I'm not surprised, but I'm just saying, like, it's so ass backwards and fucked.
Is.
Like, their like thought process back in the day, it just makes no sense.
Is
No sense.
the Malleus Maleficarum, like, are there copies you're able to actually read today?
I have one.
You do?
I have it. Yeah.
Have you gone through most of it?
I've never like thumbed through it. Like, I think it's, hold on, I think it's,
Yeah, let me see.
I can't even tell you who it was who gifted this to me. I don't even remember. It was that long ago, but I've had it. I've never read it, but I was like, why would you give a witch a book about how to get rid of witches?
Well, you have to know your enemy, right?
Right,
you gotta
yeah.
get inside the mind of
Yeah.
the person who wrote this.
But it's like, it's very modernized, obviously. Like,
Yeah,
look at it.
yeah.
Like,
It gives you the
but, I mean,
loopholes you might need.
but yeah, this is, I guess.
That's a big
this-
book. That's like a textbook.
Yeah.
Well, it was a textbook, I guess, at the time.
Translated with an introduction, bibliography, and notes by the Reverend Montague Summers. So
If you
that'd
want
be
some
it.
light reading, that's like a coffee table book.
It's like, yeah, it's like shoved all the way in the back of my little apothecary cabinet back there. But
That is a book, because it's like a soft cover. Have you been watching the recovering like book TikToks? Have you gotten on that yet? They like rip off the back and the front of the book and they rebind it. That's one of those
No.
books that you could get like a super dope cover for.
you know who does that?
Who?
Paige, our patron. Paige
That's
Bellini.
right.
She does book.
What a
she
Paige.
rebinds books. Yeah.
All right. So lastly, as an honorable mention, I wasn't going to include him. He is so fascinating to me. I wasn't going to include this person at first, but then my brain like pinged.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Rasputin a little bit.
Okay.
I was playing that Rasputin song yesterday.
Yeah.
Rasputin, lover of the Russian queen. That one.
That's what they say?
Yeah.
That TikTok song that went viral?
Yes.
I'm like, what are they saying?
Yeah. So we say
Okay.
Rasputin. Like a bunch of Hicks, but it's a Rasputin. Right. Okay. I'm just going to say it the normal way. So I thought of him simply for his connection like to the occult and his infamous history, but I couldn't really remember like hearing if he was like into blood magic or rituals. But then I remembered what brought him to that palace, to the Tsar's home to begin with. And it was the Tsar's son, Alexei, who was a hereditary hemophiliac. It's a genetic condition that it's characterized by prolonged bleeding caused by a lack of clotting factors in the blood. So any little nick or cut you have extensive hardcore bleeding. So Grigory Rasputin was a controversial figure who became acquainted with the royal family in 1905. And he was a wandering mystic. Rasputin claimed to have healing powers, and after some hesitation, Empress Alexandria allowed him to try and help her son. Real quick, a little fun fact I learned, that if he had not been killed, he could have lived to see Elvis on TV.
What?
Right. If he would have lived like 90 years, like not any life expectancy in that's realistic.
Yeah.
But we think of this time, Rasputin, as so far in the past, but he
Yeah.
really wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a little
That
fun
is
fact.
fascinating. Yeah.
So Rasputin was successful in quelling a violent episode of Alexei's hemophilia, which generated praise from the royal family, particularly Alexandria, lover of the Russian queen. I don't think they ever got into any of that, but
Okay.
they turned to him frequently after this incident to assist in treating Alexei's hemophilia.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did it explain how he treated this hemophilia? Like, what did he do?
I think I recall him saying, like, he was such a magnetizing person. I think he had practice in, like, meditative practices that he might have had been able to calm Alexei down. You know, like if your blood pressure's up and you're anxious and you're upset, your blood is pumping. So I think he
Okay.
was able to calm Alexei, and that helped slow and then stop his excessive bleeding.
Got it.
That would be
All
my
right.
guess.
Okay.
Yeah. So this ended up developing a really bizarre, close relationship as the consequence.
Yeah.
Alexei was very fragile, and he was often in excruciating pain. Rasputin quickly realized that Alexei's mother, the Tsarina, was very worried about her son's health, and he began to visit the palace more often. He told the Tsarina that he could help her son. Maybe it explains it here. I honestly didn't read it.
Oh.
Rasputin claimed to have magical or mystical healing powers and was able to calm the hemophilia attacks that plagued the young boy. He used a combination of prayer, suggestion, and pressure on the affected area to stop the bleeding. Did they not?
Acupuncture?
No, like just like when you get cut, you put pressure on it, right?
Right. Yeah.
His success in managing Alexei's hemophilia made him even more indispensable to the Tsarina, who saw him as a miracle worker. There is no reliable information on the specifics of Rasputin's methods, but the following medications contributed to Alexei's condition's apparent improvement. Rasputin frequently advised Alexandra to resist doctor recommendations such as administration of aspirin, which is a blood thinner. It'll make you bleed more, which is known to exacerbate bleeding in hemophiliac patients. However, the doctors were allowed to wrap and pressurize internal joint bleeds and external injuries that cause profuse bleeding. Just the pressure and the rest could have contributed to minimal blood loss for someone like Alexei. So it was all like basic medical stuff that was, he was just kind of so wrapped up. He already had a name for himself, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
What was his, did it say what year he was?
He was 1905 is when he got to the palace and became part of their team.
So this is more contemporary. Yeah, I always thought he was like, way more ancient than that.
Exactly, because he looks bananas, right?
Yeah,
He looks like
So
not
wait.
somebody of the 20th century.
Right. So he wasn't he the villain in
Anastasia.
Anastasia? He's the villain, right?
Yeah, he's got his own song and everything.
Right.
Just
So
like Jimmy.
in real life, he was helping people. He was no villain.
Right. I
Okay.
think they villainized him because he may have been taking advantage of the position because he had access to the palace, which means like he had access to the parties and the ladies, and they got there strange. I just think it's fascinating. The power of persuasion, the narcissist in
The
him.
narcissism, yeah.
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 It's just really
Or
interesting to me.
the Deluluism.
The Lulu.
The Deluluism, yeah. Who was recently, because J-Lo recently was she's having all these haters because like she's so full of herself. Everybody's saying she's full of herself and like she's a narcissist, blah 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 blah. And some people are saying, listen, you have to be a certain level of delusional to believe in yourself enough to like get to that level of fame.
Didn't they say the same thing about Tom Cruise, Michael Jordan, and Tiger Woods? They said the same thing about all those people.
You gotta be, I guess, yeah, like I guess becoming that level of fame, you have to have a certain
Hashtag
level-
unhinged.
Yeah, you have to be a certain level of unhinged and a certain level of fucking delulu as shit to like believe to get to that point, right?
Yeah.
So
I just thought it was
guess-
really cool because I was like, oh yeah, a cult, kind of like Aleister Crowley. And then I was like, how can I swing this? And I was like, oh shit, that's how he ended up there was because of blood.
Yeah. Oh, right. So we did talk a lot about blood sister and blood brothers in our part 1 of this series, but what about blood lovers?
Ooh.
Yeah, so here are a couple notable Hollywood couples who have been known to seal their affections with their own blood. So the first one, before Megan Fox was even a twinkle in Hollywood's eye, we had Billy Bob Thornton and Angelina Jolie. Remember that fucking relationship?
A shit show.
It was fucking weird. This article comes from VanityFair.com, and it's titled Billy Bob Thornton Tells the Unabridged Angelina Jolie Blood Vial Story, and this was written by Julie Miller and published on October 21st, 2014. Julie writes, Billy Bob Thornton is a terrific actor who has gone on to do great things with his career since his Oscar win for 1996's Sling Blade and his romance with Angelina Jolie. Even so, the actor is continually pestered by press about the time of his life that he spent with Jolie and their allegedly dark, mysterious lifestyle that involved jewelry containing human blood. The actor, who can currently be seen on FX's Fargo, was even asked about that personal chapter during a college campus discussion at Loyola Marymount University's School of Film and Television just last week. And Thornton, being a nice guy, obliged his curious audience with the most detail-laden version of the Angelina Jolie blood vial story that we have ever heard. So, in the hopes of getting Thornton's exhaustive explanation out into the world so that the actor can go on living his life, they've included it below. So hat tip to the Hollywood Reporter for providing a transcription of the entire discussion. It goes on to say, a vial of blood is very simple. Angie came home one, he calls her Angie. Angie came home one day with a kit she bought, which is a, one of those lockets you buy that are clear and you put a picture and of your granny in it or something like that and wear it around your neck. That's what it was. She bought 2 of those. We were apart a lot because she's off making Tomb Raider and I'm making Monsters Ball, and we were on opposite ends and we see each other for 2 weeks or whatever. She thought it would be interesting and romantic if we took a little razor blade and sliced our fingers and smeared a little blood on these lockets and you wear it around your neck just like you wear your son or your daughter's baby hair or something in one. Same thing. From that, we were wearing quart jars of blood around our necks. And he laughs.
Oh, that must be like... That's all it was, but people blew it up into like they're wearing a quart jar of blood, basically. Yeah.
Right. So then he goes, and we were vampires and we lived in a dungeon. So everybody just blew it like way out of proportion, right?
Got it. Yeah.
So Thornton said that he thinks everyone should be more truthful, explaining, quote, I think it's your duty to kind of tell people the truth about this stuff, and the truth is not encouraged anymore. And that being said, the actor has come up with a diversion tactic for journalists who cross into unprofessional territory and begin asking personal insulting questions. He goes, I say to them, well, I wouldn't know about that because, I'm Benjamin Franklin. Then he goes, if you're Benjamin Franklin, you mean you're reincarnated? I said, well, I don't know if you can call it reincarnated. I'm Benjamin Franklin. I was Benjamin Franklin in 1776.
What is
Benjamin Franklin? I don't know what the fuck he's talking about now. But he says, the next thing you know, you're Benjamin Franklin, you're a lunatic, and you think that you're Benjamin Franklin, and he doesn't understand that I'm saying, dude, don't ask me stuff like that, because if you do, I'm going to tell you I'm Benjamin Franklin.
I'm so confused.
I don't know where... I'm not understanding the connection there, but I guess what he's saying is like people are blowing it so out of proportion, like he can tell them that he's Benjamin Franklin and they still would just, I guess they would eat it up and run with the story and like blow it out of proportion. I don't fucking know. But so the takeaway here is that if Billy Bob Thornton starts identifying himself as Benjamin Franklin during your interview with him, you've crossed the line and you've been warned.
Oh shit.
So basically, so stop talking about it. Yeah. So that's basically all it was, is just Angelina Jolie brought home these little lockets. And they just put a little dab of blood in each other's locket, and they wore that little locket around their neck so they can still feel connected to each other when they're off on opposite ends of the country.
I don't see a problem with that.
Right, yeah. I mean, they weren't like, they weren't drinking each other's blood like I think we're going to talk about now in the next celebrity occurrence.
Okay.
But this next one, we're going to talk about the Megan Fox thing. So, Megan Fox confirms she and Machine Gun Kelly do, quote, drink each other's blood, end quote, but only for, quote, ritual purposes. And this is also a Vanity Fair article. And this was written by Emily Kirkpatrick, published on April 27, 2022. And Emily says she clarifies that it's, quote, just a few drops, not goblets. This article says, Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly have taken a page out of Angelina Jolie and Billy Bob Thornton's relationship playbook, occasionally sipping on each other's blood as a way to cement their love. But as we just learned, Billy Bob and Angelina never drank each other's blood. They only put it in a locket.
Do you remember how much Megan Fox was being compared to Angelina Jolie when she first got on the scene?
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So it says, but the actress assured fans that it's just a few drops and not the goblets that you might be imagining. So in January, Megan Fox posted a video to her Instagram, an account of her fiance's proposal, Machine Gun Kelly, writing in the caption, quote, somehow a year and a half later, having walked through hell together and having laughed more than I ever imagined possible, he asked me to marry him. And just as in every lifetime before this one, and as in every lifetime that will follow it, I said yes. And then we drank each other's blood, end quote. When she puts it that way,
Yeah.
like she just snuck that in there like, oh, by the way, like,
Yeah, you're leaving a lot to the imagination.
right. So when she sat down with Glamour UK for her first interview since MGK popped the question, naturally there were some questions about the story behind that final line. When asked if the pair actually drink each other's blood, Fox replied with a laugh. She says, yeah, so I guess to drink each other's blood might mislead people, or people are imagining us with goblets and like we're in Game of Thrones, drinking each other's blood. She added, it's just a few drops, but yes, we do consume each other's blood on occasion for ritual purposes only, end quote.
Like, he's weird as shit. They're both weird together.
They're both pretty
It's
weird.
so cool that she talks about ritual magic in Hollywood, and also
Yes.
he's supportive.
Right.
Love that for him.
Yeah, love that for him. Do we need to add him to our I Married a Witch episode?
Yeah, I think so.
So the actress went on to explain, quote, I'm much more controlled. I read tarot cards and I'm into astrology and I'm doing all these metaphysical practices and meditations and I do rituals on new moons and full moons and all these things. And so when I do it, it's a passage or it is used for a reason. And it is controlled where it's like, let's shed a few drops of blood and each drink it. And he's much more haphazard and hectic and chaotic where he's willing to just cut his chest open with a broken glass and be like, take my soul.
He comes off that way.
Yeah. So when asked if that's something that's actually transpired, Fox coyly responded, it doesn't not happen, let me tell you. Maybe not exactly like that, but a version of that has happened many times, end quote. So then there's another article on Yahoo News, this one titled, Megan Fox explains why drinking Machine Gun Kelly's blood isn't gross. And this was written by Ebony Boykin Patterson, published on March 20th, 2024. So this was
a couple weeks ago.
recently. Yeah, this was more recently. She was just on an episode of Call Her Daddy. I don't know if you listened to that podcast.
You sent me a little TikTok of what she had to say about it.
Yes, so she was like talking on Call Her Daddy, which Call Her Daddy is it's a pretty good podcast. Avi actually turned me on to it. Like he started listening to this like a few years ago.
Okay.
So Megan Fox appeared on the latest episode of Call Her Daddy podcast, and in the midst of a lengthy conversation about her childhood, career, and best beauty tips, she addressed a far stranger facet of her public life, her and her partner Machine Gun Kelly's apparent penchant for drinking blood. So she says, one of the rumors that's very persistent is that I'm like satanic or do satanic rituals or maybe adjacent to the Illuminati, Fox tells Call Her Daddy host Alex Cooper in the new episode released on Wednesday. And she says, I don't know why it started. There was just that one time that I said I drink blood ritualistically and then everybody was like, wow, she's into satanic rituals, but that was a very misunderstood thing, end quote. Fox and MGK made headlines in 2022 when the actress told Glamour, it's just a few drops, but yes, we do consume each other's blood on occasion for ritual purposes only, end quote. Ever since that public reveal, the Jennifer Bodies star said that people have unfairly aligned her with satanic beliefs. She says, I actually was raised Pentecostal Christian, she told Cooper. I'm not currently a part of the church, but I definitely identify with Christ consciousness, and I'm actually a very, very spiritual, positive person. And she is. Like, I've like listened to her in various interviews, and she does like talk about her spirituality a lot.
That's awesome.
And she also has talked about shadow work and diving deeper into what triggers you. And remember we talked about her, I forget what episode it was, where we talked about her poetry. I think it was the
Oh, sluts.
Sluts.
One.
Yeah, we talked about her on one of our sluts episodes. And yeah, all of her like poetry, I think that was like shadow work for her. Like she went on talk shows like talking about like how she had to like, go through that
Process.
dark stuff to
Yeah.
process all of that stuff. Like all of that stuff is kind of in alignment with like, you know, what everybody does nowadays, like diving into the deeper parts of ourselves and, you know,
Healing.
ritualistic, whatever, yeah, healing, whatever it is. If you want to connect with the person you love on that level, do you, right?
Girl.
But of course, all the conspiracy people are going to come out of the woodwork and be like, you're a Satan worshiper, you're this, you're that. And she's, you know, in Hollywood, so
Here.
naturally everybody's like, she's in the Illuminati, like, you
Sure.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
basically, right?
Nope. Nope. Cute.
Yeah. Right, that's cute. Right, yeah, Blood Brothers is cute, but forget about lovers. That's a whole different ballgame, I guess. So she says it's like that, except instead of rubbing your fingers together, the drop of blood goes into your mouth, she added. And I don't know why that becomes satanic. What is so gross about what I did with my soulmate? But Fox did admit, though, that sharing that tidbit of information might have exasperated things, especially after she and MGK had drawn conservative ire for their Halloween costumes that year. She says, I dressed up in bondage with a dog collar around my neck, and he dressed up as a priest, and he was feeding me communion on my knees, she explains. Her musician beau originally didn't want her to address the backlash, she said. He was like, it's so much cooler that people think we're this bizarre and we're this weird, that we're doing this kind of weird magical shit in our basement. Let them think that. Let them think that's what's going on if they want to think that, you know? But Fox still wanted to set the record straight. She says, I don't know any people who have been part of the satanic ritual. I'm not sure if the Illuminati is real, she says, before quipping, I feel like if it was real, I would have been given an offer to join by now, end quote.
Okay, Megan.
She is claiming to not have any ties with it, has nothing to do with it. Her everything she's doing is not a satanic ritual.
Deny, deny. Good
It's
God.
clearly just a method to feel closer to her soulmate. That's what she claims. So that's what she says. I'm gonna believe her. But speaking of Illuminati, let's talk about some of those secret societies and oaths and initiations. So this comes from Britannica.com. So secret society, any of the large range of membership organizations or associations that utilize secret initiations or other rituals and whose members often employ unique oaths, grips like a handshake, or other signs of recognition. Elements of secrecy may vary from a mere password to elaborate rituals, private languages, costumes, and symbols.
Again, I'm going to ask, why don't we have a secret handshake? And I feel like we have a secret language sometimes. It's great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure if people were like hopping in on an episode that wasn't like one of our first episodes, they're going to be like, what are they freaking talking about?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Like your
So-
family at our Midnight Margaritas thing when we had all of our sayings and shit in the bag. They were like, I don't fucking know what this means.
They're like, what is this?
Yeah.
What? What does that mean?
Jimmy's stupid ass face.
Jimmy's stupid ass face.
That was your dad.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you guys have been listening to us since like episode 1 and you like, you know, you're down with all of our lingo, consider yourselves part of our secret, cool, secret society club, right?
No blood needed. Although we did get kind of a blood sacrifice in Boston, didn't we? A blood offering
What do we do in Boston?
from Russ.
That's right. Holy shit. Yeah. He hurt his hand on the drum.
On the snare. He became part of the Stinas by dripping his blood on the snare.
He shed his blood for our musical album.
Yeah, thanks, Russ.
Yeah. Thanks, Russ. So, the term, I guess, secret society may be applied to such widely divergent groups as a U.S. college fraternity or sorority, as we were talking about last week, the Ku Klux Klan and international Freemasonry, as well as to similar phenomena in ancient or pre-colonial cultures. Throughout history, though, among the earliest secret societies of which historical evidence exists were the mystery religions of ancient Egypt, Greece, and Rome, which had secret rites, initiations, and revelations of still more ancient wisdom. Among these were the cult of Dionysus, the keepers of the Eleusinian and Orphic mysteries, and the Pythagorean Brotherhood.
Have you seen, real quick, the theory that Jack Black is Dionysus reincarnated? Have
Wait,
you
wow.
seen that? Not like he is such a Dionysus. It's like he came down, he just wanted to spend time with humanity.
Yeah.
And it's Jack Black. It makes so much sense to me.
I'm gonna have to look into. Was that on TikTok?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look in. I'm gonna have to
Get all
find
my
that
news.
video. Is it because he's just like so theatrical and musical and like
Yeah, and
Dionysus?
chaos and just happy. And, yeah.
Yeah. When we were in Greece, we went to Greece for our honeymoon and we saw the Dionysus his theater. It was
That's
really
cool. Was it pretty?
It's Freaking bad. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
gorgeous. Yeah, really cool. So whereas the mysteries employed secrecy to guard religious truths, other groups have been forced to adopt secrecy to escape or survive suppression and persecution. This was the case of the early Christians in pagan Rome, or in their turn, of various groups deemed heretical by the Roman Catholic Church in the Middle Ages. So widespread were these groups that the church created the Inquisition to hunt them down and prosecute their members.
Wasn't tarot initially like a secret thing
Like
done
a
with? I
language.
know it was initially a game, but I thought, didn't they use like normal cards to get away with, you know more about this than I do, to get.
Tarochi. I think Tarochi, that was like the first. Yeah, I think it started as a card game. I know in Sicily, and like, my culture, they have a game called Scupa. And if you look at the cards, the images on the cards actually look like, because like obviously there's different suits, right? They have the pentacles, the cups, the wands, the clubs, and I think swords or something like that. But the court cards, they look like tarot cards. I have little espresso cups with the scupa symbols on it, and it looks like they're little tarot cups.
Cute.
But it's
That's
like
cute.
scupa cup. It's scupa cups, yeah. We grew up, my dad used to play scupa with us all the time. It was like so fun.
You have to
But
teach
yeah,
me next time.
but it would always like confuse me, like why am I, like growing up my mom was so against, like she don't mind the tarot now, but growing up she was so against me like getting into the tarot, but I was like, but Papa plays scupa. Isn't it looks
Oh,
the same. It
Papa
looks the
plays
same.
Scuba.
So it looked the same to me. I was so confused. I was like, but Papa
So
doesn't do tarot?
interesting.
Medieval guilds resorted to solemn initiatory oaths and other elements of secrecy primarily for economic self-protection. Throughout history, revolutionary, subversive, and conspiratorial groups have organized secretly, as in the case of the Sons of Liberty in the American colonies. The repression of liberal, nationalist, and republican movements in Europe in the 19th century, for example, produced an underground network of revolutionary secret societies, such as the Italian Carbonari. That sounds like a pasta dish.
It does. Like, yeah, it does.
Like pasta carbonara? Like, yeah.
Ooh, I love a
I'm
carbonara.
so hungry now.
Me too.
Other examples may be found in the Irish Fenian Society and the Decembrists of Imperial Russia.
Like the band,
The
the
band!
Decemberists.
Yeah. So the very existence of secret societies has often prompted antagonism and fostered accusations of immorality, subversion, and heresy. Such claims were made against the Roman mystery cults and were used to justify the ruthless suppression of the Knights Templar in the early 14th century. Philip IV of France accused the Knights of heretical and licentious practices, but these charges were entirely unfounded, and Philip seems to have acted largely out of a desire to seize the Templars' vast wealth. Adam Weishaupt's Illuminati was something of a fad among Europe's intellectual and political elite in the late 18th century, making it a rather attention-seeking entity for a, quote, secret society. Nevertheless, the Illuminati ran afoul of Bavarian authorities. In 1785, the group was banned, and its members were imprisoned or driven from their homes. The 1826 disappearance of William Morgan, a New York bricklayer who had threatened to expose the secret teachings of the Freemasons, fueled the growth of the anti-Masonic movement. Distrust of the fraternal order spread throughout New England and the mid-Atlantic states, and the movement coalesced into the first significant third party in the United States history. Many modern secret societies were formed primarily for social and benevolent purposes to carry out charitable and educational programs. These have been especially numerous in the United States, and in the later 19th century attracted large numbers of immigrants who sought companionship and guidance among people who spoke their native language and followed their customs. In many communities, such societies in the 21st century have continued to provide the principal means of members' social and civic activities. With all their diversity of type and origin, secret societies have certain characteristics of structure and function in common, and some of their ceremonies reveal surprising similarities. So, secret societies are, by their very nature, made up of persons presumably oriented towards similar ends. These ends usually manifest the characteristics that differentiates a given secret society from all others. That is to say, the ends are secret. Moreover, admission to membership almost always involves the explicit obligation to preserve such secrecy, and penalties for its violation are likewise explicitly stated. I don't know if we get into this at all, but maybe they do like some kind of like blood pact or blood oath to swear into secrecy, maybe?
Well, gangs do, right?
Right.
You gotta
Yeah.
take a life sometimes, huh?
Yeah. The explicitness involves may sometimes apply only to the members of the society. For secrecy may be so complete that even the existence of some societies is not revealed to outsiders. Revolutionary, heretical, and similarly subversive secret societies are cases in point. More frequent is partial secrecy, where the existence of the society is publicly acknowledged or even proclaimed, as was with the case of the Ku Klux Klan in the United States after the American Civil War, and again in the 1920s and throughout the civil rights era in the 1950s and 60s, probably to instill that fear. They want to make their presence known, so they want to instill fear in people. At least some of the ends are made generally known. Some of the society ceremonies are performed openly, and public cooperation with other groups having fundamentally differing ends may occasionally be undertaken. It just brings me back to that scene in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Oh
Remember
my
that scene?
God, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so obviously secret societies would lose their reason for existence if secrecy were ever entirely abandoned. Many fraternal organizations, for example, maintained the secrecy of their rituals into the 21st century, although, as in the case of college fraternities and sororities, these survived largely as formalities. Other academic societies, most notably Yale, University, Skull and Bones, and similar groups at other Ivy League schools, have traditionally guarded their secrets much more closely. In most instances, the core of the binding secrecy is to be found in the society's ceremonies. The essential part of this is rarely, if ever, legitimately known to those who are not initiates, particularly where the really significant ends are concerned. In order to ensure full and exact knowledge of these ends on the part of initiates, a group's rituals tend to emphasize painstakingly accurate repetition and close guardianship. They are often designed to provide a strong emotional appeal, impressing the members with the gravity of the ceremonial occasion and the authenticity of the knowledge thereby revealed. In many secret societies, the ceremony is cast in dramatic form and contains episodes taken from holy books, revered legends, and episodes thought to be of crucial historical importance. Often, members play parts in dramatic portrayals of the origin of the society, and in such a portrayal, the candidate for initiation usually has a key role.
They're theater kids. They're just like dressing up and acting.
Basically,
Join
right?
the theater, guys.
Join a theater. Yeah. So, for instance, the initiate may undergo a symbolic journey fraught with obstacles and temptations, and at the end thereof receive the, quote, truth or esoteric wisdom viewed as a society's characteristic possession. In this process, physical objects such as keys, pillars, swords, books, globes, or staves may be endowed with symbolic meaning, so that their display on later occasions helps to reinstate, psychologically speaking, the awesomeness of the initiatory ceremony.
Righteous. The awesomeness. I like how that
Dude,
was written.
I never understood. I mean, I guess I could understand the appeal of sororities and fraternities, like the feeling of belonging to something that, like, something secret, but that never appealed to me. Like, I was always like, I don't want to be part of no fucking, like,
No, that is way
sorority.
too many people. No
Yeah.
way. I didn't go to I went to community college. They didn't have
I also
sororities.
went to a community college, and then I transferred over to an art school, and then I dated a guy that went to I dated a guy that went to Rutgers University, which is an actual college. So I spent a lot of time on Rutgers campus. He wasn't part of a fraternity at all.
Yeah.
So
We're
I
solo
was never,
practitioners.
yeah, I was never part of that world. I don't like anything and I think maybe it's because I was so traumatized by like church growing up as a kid and like a congregation, and at that point, I was like a lone wolf. I was like, I don't want to be tied to any group or organization. It just put me off,
I
you know?
understand that completely. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And still to this day, I'm like solo practitioner all the way, baby.
Yeah.
I do love the idea of a sisterhood. I do like
The
my little
option of maybe a group thing, but
right, right.
sorority to me is like you're stuck with
Yeah.
these people for 4 to 6 years, whatever you're. Yeah.
Right. And I have a close friend who like during our college years, like she went away to I think I had two friends actually, now that I think about it, that went away to college and were involved in all the sorority stuff, and they would come home on break and like all they would talk about was the sorority. And I would be like, dude, like
And then
do
you
you
have
have
the
anything
brides who
to
can't
talk about?
choose like 3 bridesmaids. They have to have all 12 of their
The
sorority sisters
entire
in the bridal
sorority
party.
system. Yeah,
No, that's not for me.
it's ridiculous. Anyway,
Trust no one.
trust no one. Yeah, exactly. So many secret societies operate through a system of degrees of progressively higher rank in which secrets are revealed step by step. I also didn't like the idea of like a hazing process and ritual.
Yeah.
Like, I always thought that was just like not.
There's a very blurry line between this, where you
Yeah.
just said degrees of progressively higher rank with secrets. This brings me straight to Scientology. Like the
Yes.
blurry line between cult and
Yes.
fraternity, you know?
It does feel very culty to me.
Hmm,
I guess
hmm,
that's what put me off about it. Yeah, for
hmm.
sure. Members at the higher levels are more fully aware of the ends pursued by the society than are those at the lower. Consequently, secrets of recognition are graded. That is to say, although there is ordinarily a grip or a handshake, password, ceremonialized greeting in question and answer form, esoteric phrase, or secret jargon serving many of the purposes of a special language that distinguishes even the lowest initiate from non-members. The society has secrets within secrets. Those more fully initiated make every effort by the use of special names, ordeals, or revelations to set themselves apart on the one hand and on the other to stimulate the lower ranks to the effort necessary to reach the exalted degrees.
I don't like that. I don't like
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
don't like that. Like, I have this information, you can't have it. It's very Adam and Eve in the garden.
Yeah.
And the fruit of the tree is the knowledge and the wisdom and
Yeah.
self-awareness. And that's a no-no, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then also like who was it? Like is it Perseus? No, that one killed Medusa. Whoever got the fire and brought it to human, brought knowledge to human in Greek. Might have been Perseus. I don't
Was it
fucking know.
Hermes? Oh no, that's the
No.
dude with the wings on the shoes, right?
Yeah, he's the messenger. Prometheus. Okay.
Prometheus.
Prometheus.
There we go. Yeah.
Yes.
Wasn't there a show called Prometheus and Bob? Or am I thinking of something else?
That sounds familiar. I don't remember.
Clay animation show?
Cute.
Yeah, I don't remember. It just like unlocked something in my brain. I was like, oh, I remember that.
Yeah, I
So
don't
yeah.
think that's right. Keeping
So basically
knowledge from
they're keeping knowledge from people to in turn make them feel left out enough to want to aspire to get up to that rank.
they hold the power and they want to
Yeah.
keep that power.
Yeah.
Control. Yeah.
So, the diligent preservation of higher secrets serves several other purposes. For instance, beginning initiates are thereby impressed with the necessity for silence. Not only is this the case, but the art of remaining silent without giving offense to fellow members at lower levels is imparted by direct example. This is especially important when, quote, final truth and the real ends of the society are known only to those in the more advanced degrees, and even more so when, as in a few societies, the supreme leaders remain unknown to the rank and file membership. An essential technique in all of this is that secrets remain unwritten. So far as possible, they must therefore be transmitted verbally in a sort of master-pupil situation. Frequently, the transmission takes place under striking ceremonial conditions reinforced by oaths of allegiance and coupled with detailed specifications of dire punishment for traitors. In many modern secret societies, such punishment seldom, if ever, occurs, but there have been instances of rigidly enforced discipline, especially in societies of subversive type, and some modern secret societies in their early stages were regarded as subversive. So the effects of secrecy on personality are many, but among them may be listed the growth of a sense of fusion, of a, quote, mystic tie, induced by the sharing of secrets under the appropriate ceremonial circumstances. Further, the appropriately initiated persons may effectively acquire norms or standards that extend or even substitute for the norms of the larger society of which they are apparently integral parts. Some secret societies indeed lay claim to the total personality of the fully devoted member, but the fulfillment of this claim is virtually impossible. Even though not fulfilled, however, the claim of the total personality means that sharp distinctions may be drawn between members and non-members, or in groups and out groups. Some secret societies, even when their ends are not overtly subversive, may therefore operate in ways such that they tend to split larger societies. This being the case, supporters of various institutions within the larger society may become quite antagonistic to secret societies in general, resulting in accusations of overtly traitorous, heretical, immoral, or similarly unworthy ends. Political antagonism to secret societies has, of course, been much in evidence under totalitarian regimes, Nazi, fascist, and communist, where all groups not controlled by the state are suppressed to the greatest possible extent. So where secret societies effectively coordinate with the larger societies of which they are part, as is often the case, the coordination is frequently linked with class affiliation. Secret societies recruited from the upper class are more prone to support the existing social order than to radically challenge challenge it. At most, they aim at the, quote, moral regeneration of the larger society. Secret societies drawn from the ranks of the disaffected, however, are seldom free from subversive intentions and may become drastically revolutionary, heretical, or even criminal, such as the Mafia and the Molly Maguires. Dude, there's a bar in my area called Molly Maguires.
I would look into that. I wonder why.
What the fuck's a Molly Maguire?
Is it
I
maybe like an
never.
Irish mafia?
Maybe you're right. Yeah, this says Molly Maguire's secret organization of coal miners supposedly responsible for acts of terrorism in the coal fields of Pennsylvania and West Virginia in the U.S. from 1862 to 1876.
Oh, that's not what I thought at all.
Wait, but this also says the group named itself after a widow who led a group of Irish anti-landlord agitators in the 1840s. So it does, I guess, have some Irish ties.
Okay.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Cool
I never
country.
knew that. Oh, now I know what a Molly Maguire is. Why
Yeah.
would somebody name their bar that?
No. Look into it.
So an astonishing number of secret societies, when thoroughly investigated, can be shown to have ceremonies testifying to common origins or, at the very least, remote historical connections. At the same time, some secret societies bearing the same name and practicing the same rituals in all essentials show striking variations from one country to another. Here is an account of the rituals of the Chinese Hongmen Society, or Triad, by historian JSM Ward, and this indicates some of the similarities in the ceremonial offerings of the different groups. So, according to Ward's account, the Hongmen Society of China traces its legendary founding to 386 CE and the Pure Land Buddhist patriarch Huiyan. The Hongmen rituals, as they evolved, showed a blending of Taoist Buddhist ideas while having curious analogies with the Egyptian Book of the Dead and with certain, quote, higher degrees in Western Freemasonry. The initiation ceremonies symbolize the journey of the soul through the underworld and paradise to the holy city of the gods called the City of Willows. Interwoven with this was an allegory of the experiences of the applicant during the quest for union with the Supreme Being. As regards its analogies with Freemasonry, practically every important incident is found in certain higher degrees in England and the United States, while most of the hand signs are known to many Freemasons. Like, are we talking about like the Beyonce and Jay-Z one, like the triangle? And also, wasn't that another one, like the one hand covering an eye?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch, and like a lot of people in Hollywood use them. If you watch like music videos, I know Jay-Z and Beyonce do it a fucking lot. There is a Taylor Swift music. I don't know if she's like trolling them or if she's actually part of the Illuminati, but in what music video was it? I think it's Shake It Off. She does the I think she does the triangle in that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's quick and it's so subliminal, and if like you're not paying attention, like you're gonna miss it, but you gotta pay attention to things people are doing in music videos and like, you know, people you look up to in Hollywood. The ceremony comprised 4 sections. So first, the traditional history was given to the candidates in the anteroom before they entered the lodge. And the lodge just reminds me of
Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks.
Me
The
too.
White Lodge and the Black Lodge.
Me too.
It was a moving story wherein a body of Shaolin monks who had helped the emperor were requited by him with the foulest treachery, all being murdered save 5, who became the founders of the order. There were 3 villains, and for political purposes, one was a Manchu emperor, either Kangxi or in some versions his son, but originally the story was allegorical. After this, the candidates were, quote, prepared in the anteroom, or I guess the lodge, the anteroom was before the lodge. Got it. The most notable incidents were, number 1, ceremonial washing and changing into white robes to symbolize not only mourning, but that they themselves were dead. Number 2, the right arm or the shoulder and breast and also the left knee were made bare. And
Wait,
number 3,
right arm, the
right
right
arm,
shoulder,
and
and the
breast,
left knee. Okay.
left knee.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's an outfit.
Yeah.
That's a look.
Yeah. And number 3, we'll just call this grass slippers.
What in the Jesus?
What? At first I thought it said glass slippers. I was like, what, Cinderella? But It said grass slippers were
Interesting.
substituted for ordinary boots. The third section dealt with the actual admission of the candidates who had to pass through the 3 gates inside the lodge and take the oath of blood brotherhood
There it
by
is.
mingling their blood with that of all members present in a cup of wine from which each person drank. And that's very
Yeah.
the craft right there,
Yeah,
putting the
yeah,
little
yeah.
blood in the wine.
It was a long way
Um,
around, but that's what we were getting at, right?
that's what we were getting at.
Exactly.
Exactly. Like I wanted to know. I wanted to know if these societies, these secret societies practiced any kinds of these blood pacts or rituals
Right.
or oaths, like swearing their secrecy.
Mhm.
So the last section consisted of a catechism. The master asked a series of questions, which the conductor answered for the candidates. The significance of the ceremony was revealed by the opening question. So the master would ask, "Whence you come?" And the vanguard would answer, "From the east." The master would say, "At what time?" The vanguard would say, "At sunrise, when the east was light." And the answers revealed that the applicants had been on a long and mysterious journey, first by land and then by boat, until they reached the city of Willows. Throughout the whole of this part of the ceremony, great stress was laid on numbers, which had a definite mystical significance. The Brotherhood had many aliases, the most famous being the Tian Di Hui, the Society of Heaven and Earth. And that is all from the editors of Encyclopedia Britannica, and this article was most recently revised and updated by Renee Ostberg. We will link that if you guys want to read more about that. I know we were wondering in part 1 of this series last week, why do fraternities and sororities have Greek letters for names? We were like pondering about that. So that was the last little bit I went down the rabbit hole on. And I'm sure you could go down the rabbit hole for days about secret societies. It is such a rabbit hole. Like, there's so much that we're not even touching on.
I remember in sixth, seventh grade, our teacher was very young. She was only like 23 and she had
Yeah.
just come in. And she had been telling us about like her sorority experience. And one of the things they had to do, Caitlin will remember this better, but they had to recite the Greek alphabet beginning to end before they lit a match and before the match reached their fingers.
Oh.
I don't know if it was busy work, but she had us do that shit for like 45 minutes. We would just like it was kind of like a rhymey, almost like a cheer. So
Okay.
at the time I knew it. Caitlin probably still knows it, but I just thought that was kind of interesting. That's one of the things that they had to do is light a match, speed through the Greek alphabet before it burned their little fingers.
So your teacher had you do that?
Not with the match.
Okay.
Just say it as fast as you could. Yeah, yeah.
But she told you guys that little practice. Was
Yeah.
she allowed to do that? Did she go against her sorority code? Like what?
Oh, I don't
Yeah.
know.
And also, I'm wondering, like, is it like, what do they call it? A statute of limitation? A statute?
Oh yeah,
statute
like it's
of
run its
limitation?
time out.
Like, I guess once like you have graduated and you're no longer in that sorority, like when you join a sorority, are you inherently in that sorority for the rest of your life, or once you graduate college, can you spill the secrets?
I
Is my
think,
question.
yeah. I wish I could remember the cheer. Even just looking at like the names for the letters, I just remember like epsilon, zeta, theta, data, la la da ba da da, la la da da ba da da. Kind of like that's how she delivered it. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi, rho, epsilon, gata, phi, chi, psi, omega, till the day we die.
Till the day we die.
I probably
like
missed
that.
it. I thought it was really cute.
That's cute. I like that.
Kept us busy.
So why, yeah, so but like why do fraternities and sororities have the Greek letters for names? So we're gonna dive into that right now. And this article, this is from talesoftimesforgotten.com, and the author of this is Spencer McDaniel. So Spencer writes, in the United States in the late 1700s and early 1800s, higher education was almost completely dominated by the study of Latin and ancient Greek. Prospective students were required to already know Latin in order to even apply to undergraduate school at most universities. Ancient Greek, meanwhile, was widely seen as an even more prestigious language than Latin. Latin was taught to most schoolboys, whereas if you wanted to learn Greek, you had to go to university. Knowing ancient Greek meant you were well-bred, cultured, and a gentleman. A real kalos kagathos, I guess a cultured gentleman, that's how you say it in Greek.
An arbiter of taste, a Carlos
An arbiter, a kalos kagathos, an arbiter of taste. I like that. The only language more prestigious than ancient Greek was Hebrew, which was taught only to those university students who had mastered both Latin and Greek. That is why the official motto of Yale University, which was founded in 1702, is in Hebrew, which is Orem vi tumim, meaning light and truth. And you could, the author says, you could not get more pretentious than that. Introducing the Phi Beta Kappa Society. So the very first Greek letter organization, the one that started the whole madness of Greek letter names, was the Phi Beta Kappa Society, an elite academic honor society founded on December 5th, 1776, at the College of William and Mary. The society seems to have originally been very briefly called Societas Philosophae, which is Latin for Society of Philosophy.
Don't they say sometimes when you graduated Phi Beta Kappa? Don't they say,
know.
is that a saying? I don't know. I didn't go to college.
I don't know. Neither did I. I don't know anything about this. So long before the Phi Beta Kappa Society was founded, there was already a long-standing tradition of organizations with Latin letter names at the College of William and Mary. The earliest recorded Latin letter society at the College of William and Mary was the FHC, whose name stood for Flat Hat Club, which was founded in 1750. The American founding father, Thomas Jefferson, who graduated from the College of William and Mary in 1764, was a member of it. Another Latin letter society, the PDA Society, whose name stood for Please Don't Ask, was founded in March of 1773. The Phi Beta Kappa Society, however, wanted to seem really prestigious and academic, so instead of picking a Latin letter name like a common organization, they chose a motto in ancient Greek, Philosophia Kybernetis, which means philosophy is the guide of life. Eventually, the acronym for this motto became the name of the organization itself. So the development of other Greek letter organizations. So as soon as the Phi Beta Kappa Society named itself after a Greek acronym, other organizations started imitating them. At first, the names of all Greek letter organizations stood for mottos in ancient Greek, which were often kept secret and revealed only to initiates. So most of these early Greek letter organizations were not exactly what we think of today when we hear the word fraternities, though. Although some Greek letter organizations in the United States in the late 18th and early 19th centuries certainly bore a number of resemblances to modern fraternities, they were still basically thought of as elite honor societies, and they were not nearly as prominent on college campuses as fraternities and sororities usually are today. So ironically, it was in the late 19th century when the influence of classical Greek and Latin was waning that social fraternities first became truly prominent on American college campuses. Eventually, as knowledge of ancient Greek became less common and the study of the language became a less integral part of the American university system, most Greek letter organizations stopped having Greek mottos. Nonetheless, these organizations continued to use Greek letters in their names because that was what they had always done. And by the time they stopped having Greek mottos, Greek letter names had become traditional. So the emergence of sororities. So the first social organization for college women was the Adelphian Society, which was founded in 1851 at Wesleyan Female College, a small private women's college in central Georgia. The original name of this society came from the Greek word adelphos, which means sibling, and could be used to refer to a brother or a sister. It was later renamed Alpha Delta Pi. Originally, Greek letter organizations for women were not called sororities, but rather female fraternities. A Latin professor at Syracuse University named Dr. Frank Smalley, however, objected to this word, noting that frater or frater means brother in Latin, so a female fraternity literally means female brotherhood, which he insisted was ridiculous and an oxymoron. Therefore, the esteemed Dr. Smalley insisted that they should be rightly called sororities, from Latin soror, meaning sister, and the name eventually caught on.
I never put that together.
Me either.
I
Right.
never put that together. I'm sitting here, you're reading, and I'm like, fraternity. Why didn't they call it a maternity? And I was like, wait a minute. Paternal is your dad. Maternal is your mom. And I was like, brother and sister? I was
Here it is.
today years old.
There it is. Yeah.
Wow.
So in conclusion, basically the whole reason why modern fraternities and sororities use Greek letters for their names is because an honor society over 200 years ago was being super pretentious and everyone else followed along until eventually they all just forgot why they started naming themselves after Greek letters to begin with. And nowadays, the names of most fraternities and sororities are just random jumbles of meaningless Greek letters that actually don't even stand for anything.
Yeah. How about that?
There you have it.
Wow.
That's where the Greek letters come from. Yeah.
It's interesting though that, I mean, they do have the secret society element. They have the initiations that may or may not have hazing, which includes blood. Sometimes, maybe.
Maybe not.
Yeah. Interesting.
Very interesting. I'm glad we dove down that rabbit hole. I was like, yeah, I needed to know that.
I love it. Yeah. Loved it.
I'm sure. Anyway.
That's all we have for you today. And it concludes part 2 of 2 of our Blood series, Blood Oath. Please write us in if you have experience with fraternities, sororities. If you've done a blood pact like myself and then kind of regretted it later on, let me know. magnoliastreetpodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to support our podcast, here's how.
You can support us for as little as $1 a month. That's our seedling tier, and that gets you access to our patron-only polls where you get to weigh in on what topics you would like us to talk about next. It also gets you our monthly calendar so you can see what topics we have coming up for the month, and it also gets you a welcome shout-out on the show. Our $3 Lavender Bud tier gets you our show notes for each episode in an aesthetically pleasing PDF, our after hours posts, if there's any extra tidbits or behind the scenes info pertaining to any of our episodes, we'll post those along with a blog post or extra photos, and access to our specially curated Spotify playlists. We have created playlists for our WMSR episodes as well as Production Dream playlists for each song episode, and more. Our $5 Lilac tier gets you access to our private Facebook community where we host a monthly live stream. Plus, you'll get access to our Discord server where we host our monthly watch parties. And also on the Discord, you can join in on the discussion with other Magnolia Street neighbors via the various interesting channels and threads. And then here's the $8 Rose tier. This gets you access to extra audio-visual content such as a once-a-month full-length video episode, unlimited bonus videos, uncut footage, cutting room floor footage, bloopers, outtakes, meditations, exclusive interviews, and old home videos from the vault, or spell or ritual videos, and more. It also gets you bonus content to coincide with our song-episodes, such as full-length demo streams of our original Practical Magic inspired music, plus lyric sheets, guitar chords, and original scratch demos, or bonus video performances of our songs and more. Lastly, we have our $15 Wisteria Vine tier. Just like a twisting Wisteria Vine, there's a way for you to stay connected with us, the Stinas. In this tier, we invite you to join our private Marco Polo video messaging app. The app is totally free for both Android and iOS. Sign up with your phone number or email, and we will help you do the rest. This is a great way to chat with each other in a more intimate group setting, face-to-face via video recording. We love to show each other our pets, our gardens, or anything else you'd like to share. And just a reminder that the higher the tier you sign up under, the more rewards you get, because you get all of the rewards of the tiers below it. You can upgrade or downgrade or even cancel at any time. So to support the podcast, head to patreon.com/Magnolia Street Podcast.
Yeah, and there are additional ways to support us and our podcast that don't cost you any money. If you do listen on Spotify, please give us a star rating. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, please give us a written review. We love sharing those on our Instagram. And if you're on Instagram, we would really appreciate any reposts or blurbs about our podcast. And make sure to tag us at Magnolia Street Podcast in your feed, posts, stories, and share us with your Practical Magic loving friends.
Yeah, and then don't forget to tune in next week, guys, because this is the end of the Blood Oath informative series. But we do have a Blood Oath song, so stick around. Next week we will show you guys how we wrote our song Blood Oath, talking about the whole scene of Sally and Gillian doing their little blood pact. So that song will be next week, so stick around for that.
Our merch is over at our Teespring if you want to support Magnolia Street merch, and our links are in our link tree in an Instagram bio. That's it for today. We'll see you next week.
I'm Justina.
I'm Christina.
And we'll see you next time.
At the house on Magnolia Street, would you go down to Magnolia Street where the wisteria grow wild? At the house of magic and mystery, so would you go down to Magnolia Street?
How long is this fucking thing?